entering the Three Good Sirs show. Please be aware that this is a live stream show, and if some rating branch was going to rate us, it would be PG-13. Opinions expressed are those of the speakers only and should not be seen as a reflection of the entire group's opinion. Harassment in Twitch chat is not tolerated. Don't be that guy, so we don't have to be that other guy. Alright. 3, 2, 1.
Hello, Internet!
Hi, guys.
Welcome to the Three Good Sirs show.
Dark Souls 3!
Again! Easy.
Sorry.
Take it.
I can even contain it.
Right? Keep it in your pants.
I couldn't help
It
it. I'm
is.
sorry, guys.
It's zipped up. I've got a belt.
We good?
Yeah, we're
I
good.
gotta fix Lugia's. I hear he's been weird. Okay, so anyway, I'm Travis Hymus, and to my right here is Matt Brown,
Okay.
and to my left is Peter Purple People Eater, and that guy,
He's
right
alright.
here. And welcome to the show. Today is it's the Dark Souls episode.
Woo! Dark Souls
I've got
3!
Shadow Lugia on my
Basically.
lap, but it's
The
Dark Souls
following
episode.
episodes are all going to be a bit Dark Souls episodes.
I'm pretty sure
and
never.
have been. So
Dark Souls will continue
are we
until
gonna
morale
do this forever until the end of
morale
time?
improves, basically.
Until every
Yes.
single person's copy of Dark
The-
Souls 3 stops working.
The heat death
All
of
of
the
them.
So, yeah.
universe is probably what you
The
can
inevitable
expect.
heat death.
Yeah, probably. But you guys can spend all the time you want talking about
I
it in a
will.
minute, because it's a
and
slow.
some other things.
It's a slow news day, slow news week, because mostly the biggest thing is that Dark Souls came out.
It's the biggest news by far.
officially came out.
Officially
for
came out
Western
here, like-
release.
Yeah, for us whiteys.
You know, I will
In
say this
English.
though, like, we have a lot going on, not just Dark Souls, but kind of all together this week. Ratchet and Clank came out.
Oh my
That's
God.
been pretty good from what I hear.
I'm so excited to play that. You have no idea.
Ratchet and Clank.
I'm going to stay on that Dark Souls 3 train.
Destiny got its big update, which is a big deal for people. Division got a big update.
Still gonna-
Fallout 4 DLC came out.
Yeah, did you forget that Dark Souls 3 is out?
Dark
Yeah.
Souls 3 came out.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
I could play Dark Souls 3, and
Here's
then
the-
when I'm done getting butt rammed, I can, like, take a small break, play Ratchet and Clank, and, beat a level, or, rip someone a new one. And then Dark Souls 3 again.
Yeah,
Sure,
once your
Dark
anus
Souls
has
3.
been stitched together again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the episode that was always coming. Let's get the
we'll be here to
shambles. Let's get the shambles of the news over with, and then I'll let you guys
Just
do what
Yay.
you need to do. Okay, so really quick. Basically, again, most of the news is that games have come out. There
Games
was
came out.
a couple of things that kind of came out to Activision, that wonderful company.
Yeah. they're so
decided
stuff, I
decided
guess.
to announce that there is a new Ghostbusters game coming this year.
Can I play as Melissa McCarthy? And
No, these
have
are
my pants fall down?
these are original characters.
I don't
Actually,
care about these.
original characters.
If I don't get to be a larger than life version of Melissa McCarthy,
Yeah,
and,
no,
like,
well-
have some sort of poop joke
So not
in
based
there.
on any of the
You can
movie
have
characters.
not
Yeah,
not
so
any of the movie
entirely
characters.
original.
It may be related to that film, the new film coming out,
Okay.
but this is an original setup, an original
I'm alright
story.
with
Very interestingly, apparently, it looks like kind of a Diablo clone.
Okay.
So you've got, like, it's a
Also
4-player
can be
kind of
okay.
an isometric type thing. There's RPG elements, of course, where you, like, upgrade your equipment and everything. Because
So
why would you go to
basically-
work with everything you need the
Yeah.
first time, I guess?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
it sounds actually
No.
interesting,
I would...
even coming from Activision.
Oh, yeah, I would love this, except for one big caveat.
Oh.
It is April,
Mm-hmm.
and this game comes out in June.
And
Or
we
July,
just
sorry. It comes out in
barely
July.
got this
And we
information.
just found out
Yeah.
it exists.
Now here's
So-
a question:
Oh.
How much does the
Okay.
game cost? And then how much does the DLC that activates the game cost?
They don't really do that anymore, but
How much for the iconic
We'll see.
hat? Oh wait, wrong
that's
developer.
Ubisoft. That's Ubisoft.
True. Although Ghostbusters is actually iconic, so that's
Yeah, they have an
they
iconic
would be
vacuum.
fair
They have
this time.
iconic. Well, the trailer.
Yeah,
here's
back
the,
vacuum.
here's the
Yeah.
interesting thing: the trailer that was just had Slimer in it. Like, it was just
That's all you really
animations
need.
of Slimer, so it was actually kind of iconic.
That's really
Um,
good,
I'm alright
to be
with that.
honest.
But this sounds more like a game where you do things just to get a game out, and I thought this era of games was over, and it's apparently not.
No,
I
it's
will.
never over.
Let's face it, I will probably
People
play
keep
it.
buying them.
But anyway, it's coming to PS4, Xbox One, and Steam. So if you want to hate yourself for a bit, and I'm not saying it's necessarily going to be bad,
okay,
but I'm not hopeful. Speaking of games that may have been bad or good but didn't come out, have you ever played on a Neo Geo?
Oh,
Nope.
a Neo what?
A Neo
Please explain
Geo.
for
the
our
only
younger
Neo
viewers.
I care about is Neo Pets.
No.
Only Neo
Let me
I
draw
care
the
about
line.
is Neo the One,
Their
because he
forums,
stopped bullets with his
the
mind.
Neo
Their
Geo
forums are on point. They know what they're talking about in nearly any context.
Yeah, like guys, if you don't know,
I'm
if you
finished.
read something on a Neopets forum, it is true 9 out of 9 times.
9 out of 9.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. All right.
It's
Well.
like Wikipedia, but
Yeah,
good.
okay. The Neo Geo, there was an era, just so you know, there was an era where there were multiple consoles, multiple people in the business than the ones that are around now.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Neo Geo is one of those. And so basically what this story is about is a guy bought an old test board for this console. So basically the dev kit.
Oh, that's a console. I thought you were talking about a game.
No, it's a console. The Neo
Wow,
Geo is
okay.
a console, and
What a concept.
so he bought it just to basically dink around with, and while he's dicking
Yeah.
around on this thing, he finds, in quote, a hell of a discovery. There was a prototype version of an unreleased, unannounced, unknown fighting game that is functional.
More or less, at least.
You can play it. There's no audio. There's no user interface. Not all the character art is final, but there are 12 fighters, stages, and a playable game in there. And
Wow.
like, there's
From what
no
I see, though,
names.
The sprites don't match the backgrounds.
Yeah, no, there's no names.
huge
There's no.
discrepancy,
There's jack crap going on here, to tell you the truth.
Although some of the characters are pretty sexy looking, if I'll be honest
It's-
with you.
Yeah, them pixels.
The Neo Geo was kind of around the same era as the Genesis, to put it in perspective for you. Matt's going to put it up
I've
here. It
never
looks
heard
like
of it,
this.
obviously.
This is a real thing. Like, look at the abs at that man, on that man.
God, I don't know, the things I would do to him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
scroll a bit.
I'd play him as a character.
yeah. So
That's,
you've got,
that's what I mean. The
like,
sprites
it is not
don't match the
finished.
backgrounds
So
at
this
all,
is one of
but
those.
It's unfinished.
This is just one of those, like, it's a slow news week, but this is kind of cool to
It's
see
interesting.
what a game looks like in development that never
Yeah.
makes it. I mean, we've been
Never
finding out
heard
more and
about
more
it
about
either.
these things, so that's kind of nice. So that's a
Hey.
thing.
He has a sword. He's doing a kick.
He's doing
It's
a
Dark Souls-like.
kick. It's a Dark Souls.
It's a Souls game. It's a Souls-like game.
So you can play as a schoolboy, or is that
That's
a ninja?
not what makes
I
a
don't
game
like. He's wearing a
Dark
hoodie
Souls
and
game.
jeans, isn't he? Oh my god! And those are those loafers? Like, is this a game?
They
from
just
the
might
future?
be. And you're going to have to be okay with that.
It's a game from the future.
Hey,
Oh,
look,
man.
there's architecture in the background. It's Souls-like.
Whoa!
Whoa.
Dude, it's like Tarek, but on steroids.
Jeez.
Sex
Minus
steroids.
the gym.
This is going to be the longest
This is lingerie.
show of my life.
Speaking of lingerie, you wanted to show me something.
We'll hold that. Hold that. That's
You
a
sure?
tease.
You
That's
sure?
a tease. Yeah.
He's
I
not
think
getting
it's-
naked.
I think it's
He's
now
not-
been a
Let's
spoiler.
not scare
that's a
anyone in the chat.
tease.
No one's
Okay.
getting naked.
Okay. No. Okay. So. All right. No. I will give you something juicy though.
Ooh, I like the sound of that.
One of the vice presidents of Rockstar is suing the company.
Go on.
Yeah. Okay. Leslie
Yeah.
Benzies, one of the 3 people who basically pushed Grand Theft Auto. He was one of the guys who had the brilliant idea to manufacture all the outrage about Grand Theft Auto back before it was cool to want to ban video games, and basically manufactured that and got the game to be the big thing. So basically, he made Rockstar. He was one of them. And I'll tell you right now, he was once portrayed by Daniel Radcliffe on a BBC
Oh.
film.
Neat.
And like, he's wearing like a hat sideways and the thug jacket. Like,
That's
this was-
amazing.
this was the worst ad. Like,
No, it's the best.
It
That's
is a-
fantastic.
if it is a thing to watch, I'll tell you that much. But anyway,
Yeah, you know, the guy who played Frodo.
yeah. Daniel Radcliffe.
I love BoJack.
I'm gonna say Daniel. Oh, Elijah Wood.
Okay, so without getting into too much about it, because
Elijah
honestly,
Wood.
this is a gigantic mess, okay? Gigantic mess. He was basically forced out into taking a sabbatical for 6 months. At which point Rockstar fired his son from the company who was working there.
Huh.
His closest
On what
work
grounds,
relations,
though?
I don't know. We don't know yet. They cut off his access to the company emails, and he's not just a regular person in this company.
No, he's,
Basically, there's just been kind of
That's a really unprofessional way to go about trying to get rid of somebody
Yeah.
or a group
Yeah,
of somebody.
They have been basically trying to kick this
That's
guy
not
out.
okay.
Yeah, and so now he's suing them for unceremoniously terminating him, basically, because they haven't let him come back now. For all of it.
Regardless of the grounds that they're taking action, the actions are wrong and unprofessional.
And of course, really, this is about money. So what it comes down to
it's a business
is...
that
and
has to be
basically,
like
it's
that.
royalties. So how much of the profit bonus does he get? How much does he get of X game? And he's... basically the negotiating was just between these guys who made up this company originally. So there was it's all kind of up in the air as to what he's actually in. Oh,
they need to learn how to talk people out of their jobs.
They need to learn how to-
Listen, you don't really want this job. I mean, yeah,
really
the
just-
pay is amazing. You're still getting royalties. The benefits are
better than
fantastic. But I mean,
You don't have to put on pants.
you can just you're better.
Come
than
on.
us. Go find something.
the ultimate,
Clearly you're
ultimate jab.
So needless.
Come on.
So just so you know, basically, we will hear more about Rockstar probably in the next coming months.
I'm actually curious.
And it will probably not be good. So, we'll probably learn some things about Grand Theft Auto, though, which will be interesting. Speaking of companies unceremoniously and ridiculously firing employees, let's go back to the Nintendo thing we talked about in episode 1.
The follow-up to that.
So, as you can imagine, things have gotten juicier. Not in a good way. Not in a good way. So basically,
Well, shit.
even though Allison Rapp has been fired and you think, oh, they got their win, even though they didn't really get their win, and Nintendo's like, no, it's not because of harassment, and that's all Nintendo will say. They're not, the people who've been harassing her are not stopping
At all.
at all. And so here's where it gets interesting. It's extended to her husband.
But why?
They're harassing her husband, okay? Directly to him, not just, oh, your wife sucks. They're harassing him for stuff. Basically, the things that they're calling him, I won't repeat because I'm a gentleman. No, it's not even... It's the kind of thing that Twitch will not appreciate.
Yeah, we can leave it.
Yeah, no, it's not one of the... It's not good. It's racially insensitive stuff, and he's a white guy, by the way, so it's just ridiculous that this is even a thing that's happening. But, okay, so here's where it's interesting. This I didn't know. He worked at Nintendo, too, but not for Nintendo.
Boogity Bones wants us to do it.
Do it.
He called him a mung. He called him Gibo.
Mung.
What's Mung? You seriously don't know what Mung is?
No, I know what mung is. I just don't think you know what mung is.
Yeah.
Oh, we know what Mung.
Let's close that window. That noise is coming through a little
Yeah,
bit.
that's a little bit.
Well, excuse me a moment.
Get off the couch. He's fired. No, so he worked at Nintendo. He actually worked
On
in
what
the cafe.
grounds?
He worked in the cafe. So he wasn't actually employed by Nintendo. He was employed by a different company in the building. But he left basically before they kicked him to the curb too. And so what he did after he left is he put together this whole big documentation of all the harassment and everything that he got. And he's like, how much of this has to do with video games?
Yeah, and the actual issue.
Because here's the thing. I'm a white guy
Closer.
with no connections whatsoever
Colder,
here.
warmer.
What's up with this? He basically just kind of called Gamergate and stuff out for being who they are. Other interesting thing that came up in this. So a lot of news outlets covered the actual firing, but the earlier events that led to it, one journalist, one major game journalist, was basically following, and so they're going after him too.
Yeah, well, obviously.
For investigating it. And he has not, he's been very fair in his analysis of these things, breaking it down, this is why people want titty sliders in Xenoblade Chronicles X, and they want to put 13-year-olds in bikinis and stuff, and 17-year-olds in 90s during Fatal Frame.
What's wrong with that?
I mean, sure, yeah, that's not... The fact that we find it creepy is kind of why Nintendo doesn't put those things in games, but that... And of course, Nintendo saying absolutely nothing
Silly Americans
doesn't help So
it is a cultural difference.
don't do a death threat at people.
Maybe don't be a dick.
Maybe don't do a death
Number
threat.
one rule of any stream should be just don't be a dick.
Don't.
Or life.
Because
Really just
it's
in
the
any
number one
context.
rule for life.
Don't.
Yeah.
And it's
There
important to
you
know
go.
that this is actually, we're talking about human beings here. We're not really talking about video games. We're not really talking about localization. We're not really talking about
in
indie.
this moment.
No,
this is
it's about
people
people
being shitty to
doing
other people.
doing a dumb thing, and it's gotten worse over the years, and I almost want to just burn the whole.
But has
thing
it
down.
really?
Well, those
Has it
people
really
who
gotten
harass
worse, or
other
do we
people
just
on the
have
internet
more
straight up
coverage?
suck.
That's here's what I'll say to you. Dragon Age 2 back in 2014. Somebody actually did threaten the writer of Dragon Age 2's children. Like they found out what school those kids go to and threatened to kill them.
Oh, God.
For having a mother who dared to write the script for a video game.
Jeez Louise.
So, and that was very heavily covered back then. So to put it in perspective,
Lindy, I am sorry that I sent you death threats. You made me play freaking Potato Man Seeks the Truth. I'm sorry. You
do that.
deserved those
That's-
ones.
you did a death threat. Don't
You
do
know,
a
the
death threat.
consequences
She made me
that
play
follow are-
Potato Man,
I
okay?
don't care. She can make you play
Not really
Glover,
deserved.
and I would.
Glover
still
is a
don't do it.
fantastic game. You
Which
shut your
one?
mouth.
There was more than one Glover.
Yes.
And
What?
64. And 64. First one.
There was another Glover?
Yes.
No.
There
No.
was. And
No.
He's
this is not
Googling
the
it right
time
now.
for this.
No, this is. This is. I want.
Glover 2.
Yeah, thank you. That was a prototype.
What?
I'm pretty sure it got some handheld releases as well.
I don't
No, I'm pretty sure it's not. It was never released.
It looks like it's
That
just.
one probably not. No.
I don't even know what. The
Yeah,
other
it
one
was
is.
canceled. It's canceled.
Don't
Doesn't count.
trick us like that. Don't
Don't
get
do
me all
that.
excited.
God, I was like Glover. God, dude.
Didn't it get a handheld release as well? Some
I don't
shitty
know.
version of it? I don't know.
Possibly. The
Okay.
main point is,
Hey.
don't get my hopes up
Yeah.
and then shatter
Yeah.
them.
It
Okay.
was a memory of mine because it was an actual thing. It just
Okay.
Yeah,
Alright.
it was a memory of mine because I rented it from Blockbuster and never gave it back. So
Right. Sure. Yeah.
Well, what are they going to do about it now?
Nothing.
Yeah, let's watch.
Now that
them
you've
do
admitted
nothing.
it, they're
Oh
gonna
shit!
find
It's
you.
on camera.
This is on the internet. The internet.
Everyone
doesn't
forget that I said that.
Oh nope. Good luck. This is the internet. Okay. We're gonna transition to a funnier story.
Than
So,
that.
who has heard of Rust?
I
guys
have,
know
and
Rust,
Lindy
right?
has, because
Rust.
Ryan the Insipid plays
Their dick
Rust
physics don't
Rust.
compare
all the
amounts of
time,
friends.
Okay.
and you can't even helicopter in it.
Okay.
I
So
don't think it's a good
about
game.
all of that. So we're all making penis jokes right now.
I'm listening.
Well,
Rust
yeah.
now has a female gender.
Neat.
They made a female model, and to show this off, when they updated and patched the game, what they decided to do was go ahead and just randomly change half of the players' genders to female
You don't
That
get to
out
choose.
of nowhere.
You
That's
get
not
to
a-
be a female.
Which you don't get to choose anything in Rust anyway. It's all randomly generated, and apparently this was also
You-
randomly
you-
generated based on
Oh, yeah.
Steam ID.
Butt warning and
Okay.
side boob warning.
well,
Sorry,
but
viewers at
pixel-
home.
I
Isolated
thought that
bukkake.
there was character customization as well.
Well, yeah, you don't really get there's certain aspects you don't get control over, and apparently gender is one of them.
At this point, and that's
which is fine,
I
except
don't mind personally.
yeah. So race and penis size are some of the ones that you don't get to control. It's locked to a Steam ID.
okay.
But
However, people may have been
Yeah.
invested in the characters they've had.
Yeah.
Changing them later on
so.
is
What he's calling
It's
it,
poopy.
and it's important to know that the guy who created Gary's Mod created this game, but basically he's calling it a social experiment because that's the best way to dodge criticism. Maybe not, I don't know, maybe just not change something on somebody's profile while they're playing. Is Rust
You
still in
get
beta?
to be yes. Rust is still beta, I believe technically.
Well, then I guess I can't really
That's
Yeah.
still one I maybe wouldn't mess with. You get to be a
Here's-
guy with a small wiener,
honestly just
and you don't get to change
leave
it.
what's already been created.
Well, they gave.
as it
Well,
is.
how many games let you change
That's
your?
all.
Oh, alpha apparently.
How many?
Still alpha.
How many do Like, do we need a dick slider too?
Yes.
I'll take one. I'll take
Like,
one.
adjust the
Not a
bulge.
dick slider, just like a bulge slider. Like,
Gosh.
And you have to stop about here, or you just burst, and then you have to live with your actions.
Okay, so we're just about to the point where you
Well.
guys can go ahead, where we can talk about the game.
God, we're so
It's
close.
about
We're so
goddamn
close. But
time.
I'm gonna take a moment. I need to hold my Pokemon here. We're gonna take a moment to talk about my favorite games here for a minute.
Okay.
Hey,
Um,
there's some
is
of my
acceptable.
favorite. I like
Because
them.
okay, here's the thing.
Do you?
There's
Still?
a lot of
I do.
random Pokemon crap that happened this week that has almost nothing to do with the games, but we're going to talk about it
Yeah,
anyway.
it's fine. It's a game,
So
you know,
Anime
franchise.
News Network, and anime was a
Series.
mistake. Let's just face it. Anime News Network ran a poll on college campuses to determine, and I'm not making this up, the handsomest Pokemon.
Which I am already aware of the answer.
Mewtwo.
Wrong
Yeah.
answer.
Mewtwo.
What's your answer?
Bidoof.
That's respectable.
At least Bidoof is like a little bit adorable in that you pity
Hey,
him.
you throw a top hat and a monocle on that bitch, and he's the fanciest.
No, like, well, and
I
see,
think
like,
that
I'm.
should be our thing.
Here's my
Like, it's my thing.
picture.
here's what
Yeah.
worries me when you talk about attractive Pokemon.
They're
That
animals,
part of the Pokemon
essentially.
fandom weirds me out to begin with. When
Yeah.
you start going down the Lucario train of things.
What, Rule 34?
Okay, so here we go. So here's the information on this little survey. Okay, 50% men, 50% women between the ages of 20 and 30, so our age. They found his horrific backstory alluring.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah, it's easy
Yeah.
to ship him.
Yeah,
You know?
So,
Okay.
50 Shades.
Here's some
deal.
other weird ones for you. Darkrai came in number 9. Rayquaza came in number 16.
Hey, it's Feet's good. Welcome back to the stream, bud. We're doing good today.
We're
Oi.
doing good.
Thanks
Hello.
for joining us. We're gonna go eat sushi after
We're-
this, so you're welcome to join us.
We're talking about sexy Pokemon right now. So,
the sexiest of all Pokemon.
yeah,
Back to-
okay. So here's the top 5. Or I'm gonna break down the top 10 for you because this is good. So Mewtwo's number 1.
It's not a
Number
terrible choice.
2, Lugia.
Which I could see because incoming sex joke. Lugia is always wet.
Well, he's got his character model. He's always doing like the hug thing. So he's like coming like, and he's coming in for a hug.
Lugia would be a bear.
I freaking love
Huh.
Lugia, but I wouldn't
And a top
make
kind of-
love to
Yeah, Lugia
Lugia.
would be a
Lugia is
bear
a top
and a
kind
top.
of Pokemon.
For sure.
But, okay, so Lugia, number 3, Charizard.
Duh. Charizard's hot. No pun intended,
Hey,
but
hey,
pun
hey.
intended.
Number 4, Lucario. I'm actually surprised he ranked so low when you think about it, because he kind of
Yeah, because he's freaking Charizard.
yeah.
Why is John Cena Machamp number 10?
But the way to ruin it. But yeah, the champ is number 10.
Yeah.
He's not. He's not even wearing pants.
Yeah.
though.
Okay. Number
But
5,
he's got a
Suicune.
championship belt
Yeah.
and muscles.
Yeah.
Oh, 4 Lucario, 5
John Cena.
Suicune.
Suicune.
All right.
Dog. I don't know. 7 or 6 is Scyther. What the?
Feet's good. The sexiest is Psyduck. No contest.
Also a respectable answer.
Why is this happening?
Hey, go ahead. If you're in chat, let us know your opinion of the sexiest
What,
Yes,
what
Pokemon.
Pokemon would you?
Who would you rule 34 first?
Meloetta.
Find out on the next
See,
episode.
Meloetta is at least humanoid.
Yeah.
Meloetta is at
Which
least
is
humanoid.
why that even came to mind at all.
Yeah,
I
don't
don't-
Google that one
God,
though.
I don't know.
What about Golduck?
Yes.
Golduck? No, it's Psyduck. It's
Sock
Chunky,
is
Chucky
at least
and
a
lovable.
person.
Sock is like a person.
Sock is a person,
And throw
and his name is kind of kinky.
Jeez, I don't know. Okay, anyway,
It's kinky.
we're
in two
moving on.
ways.
Moving on. Okay.
Sorry.
Since we're stuck talking about, since we're talking about legendaries, really quick, Magearna, which was announced as a new Pokemon for Sun and Moon, the only
Neat.
Pokemon we know about. We
I'll
found out
pull
this
her up.
month's we found out this week that she is in fact Steel Fairy, the kind of the obvious
Yeah, that's what
one,
it looks like.
Steel Fairy. And I'm just going to say this because there's a lot of Pokemon fans who are like freaking out right now. There's like a new generation and everything coming because we didn't get a third version for X and Y. And they did the whole weird freaking thing with Zygarde.
It really did look like they were going to release a
It
Y.
looks like, so for one,
Or
Zygarde's actually in
the-
the anime
the-
right now. Yeah, well, Zygarde's in the anime right now, and that's where they're doing like the narrative with him, and it involves Team Flare and everything. But it looks like Zygarde, at least in complete form, will show up in this movie that Magirna's in. So we'll still get... I think we're still going to get an explanation on Perfect Cell, Zygarde.
Yeah, sorry. Oops, my bad.
And they can always
maybe
patch
just,
that in to just be a thing.
Well, tell you what, the day they actually
event,
patch a Pokemon game to update something, so I don't just have to go buy a new Pokemon game, is the day I will go buy that other Pokemon game just because. But Nintendo doesn't do that.
There's so many Pokemon. There's like 5 or 10. It's a lot.
I'd ride Arcanine. God.
I would. I'd ride Arcanine any day.
Gosh. See, and they put Pokemon riding in X and Y, and now I'm never looking at that the same way.
What's extreme speed, Brock? Well, little one, it's when a Pokemon moves at extreme speeds. Really, Brock? Really?
My favorite Brock moment is when he uses his frying pan as a drying pan.
Ayo!
No,
to protect him from the rain.
I think the one that gets me, and this one goes around, is anytime they're in the desert and it's hot and they're like, oh, I need water, and you like have 5 water Pokemon.
Yeah, there's like
between
1,000
them.
water Pokemon there.
Okay, here's another thing, speaking of the anime, because I watched the trailers for the movies,
Pokemon
and we're going to talk about the movies here in a second, too. Ash, right now, he only has 5 Pokemon in his party, 4 of which are flying types. Talonflame, Hawlucha, Noibat, and... I can't even remember.
Some of those are going to be abandoned in the PC.
Did you say it's not even
Noibat?
Noivern?
No, it is Noivern now.
Okay,
it just evolved, I thought. But he had Noibat. But he's got Pikachu, and then a ton of flying types. And that's
keep it in check.
Bird Trainer Ash.
And I'm like, Ash... What? And and like earlier in the anime, he had a freaking Gudra, so I don't know what happened to
He had the king of all Pokémons.
Yeah, he was abandoned in the PC box.
I don't know.
Praise Lord Doomy.
Why is Ash not a master? Because he has 3 or 4 freaking
dumb as
flying
shit.
types.
Because he's dumb as shit.
Sorry
for any youngsters in the stream.
He only has 3 flying types because he's also got Greninja in his party, and people are freaking out because they won't explain Greninja either.
Ash Greninja.
Hang on. Let's find out next month, and we'll have this next month.
Time.
We'll find out what the cover for Sun and Moon looks like, so I imagine we'll get some clarification to be released. They're saying, we can't show you now, and we're like...
We can't actually tell you anything about the
Dark
game.
Souls news, but Pokemon news falls a little bit.
Lindy, he is not a child. He's like 30 years old now, but still 10.
But he looks... Yeah, exactly.
He's like a child if he has 3 flying types in his party continuously.
Ash has been 10 for like... 15 to 20 years now.
He looks like he's aging in the anime, actually, like because they change his style and everything. But I don't.
So maybe
care.
he's 12.
I don't care how old he is. He should know better by now.
When I was his age playing Pokemon, you damn well better believe I had a semi-balanced party. Maybe I had 2 or 3 Charizards sometimes, but
it's not
like 20
hard.
levels above everything else.
It's not hard. Okay, so we're talking about the Pokemon movies. Let me talk to you guys about the live-action Pokemon movies.
Oh yes, this was interesting.
So this news came out through the Hollywood Reporter, which is not a game site, but this is interesting. And I thought this was actually about the distribution rights for the Pokemon movies that air every year in Japan in theaters and everything. I got really excited because we could have like movie events and actually get some of those Pokemon. That is not what this is about.
Oh.
Apparently, they are talking about live action Pokemon film rights, and right now it's being fought out between Legendary Entertainment, Warner Brothers, and potentially Sony, which would be bizarre as heck.
Honestly,
no, screw Warner Brothers. They can't make anything that's not Batman.
Yeah, but they made Batman.
The track record for gaming movies.
Yeah.
Tell me what they are, Gary. Tell me what it is more.
If an actual gaming company takes the reign of it, I think that may be better. Because Microsoft did really well with that independent.
The Halo stuff
that was interesting.
Warcraft, I think, Warcraft's going to determine it, and here's why Warcraft's going to. Legendary is distributing Warcraft.
Okay.
So they're very interested in this. Also, here's an interesting thing. In this kind of thing, Legendary is actually is a Chinese-based company originally.
More or less.
So that is interesting when you're talking about a very big Japanese property, very big money here in Japan. That could have a hand in like the Chinese market. And
Korea #1
history, Well, yeah, and now if they make a StarCraft movie, which by the way, I'd watch that.
Yeah.
StarCraft's got an interesting enough story that
if
I'd
they
watch
actually
that.
did the story.
Yeah. But
How about we just have
Warcraft?
pixels,
Well, here's
but with StarCraft.
So StarCraft.
Warcraft actually looks
Aliens
really
vs. Predators,
promising.
the RTS
Warcraft.
Oh God.
Just saying.
Ooh, other thing, actually, animated Plants vs. Zombies, I'd probably watch that, too.
Maybe.
I
don't know.
I could see that, but it's dangerously close to going the route of angry.
I have
Okay.
lots of other ways I could spend an hour and a half of my life. Stubbing my toe. Not eating food at all.
Okay.
Plenty of things.
Yeah. Okay. Now we're going to talk about the real
it's the
story.
thing.
The thing that Peter wants to talk about. This is the last Pokemon news.
Hashtag warning.
Warning. We're talking about the official
Underwear.
Pokemon lingerie.
All right, little young children,
Take a look
5
at
and
this.
under, close your eyes.
Close your eyes. Take a look at this.
Open them wide.
This is
Disregard
real. The
everything I was
Pokemon
previously
Company thumbs up on this.
So did I.
Yeah, and no. So here's the thing.
They're plushy.
These
That's
these that
interesting.
you see here right now are not for sale. These Pikachu's
okay.
covering the naughty bits. This is just promotion. But
Unless you try hard enough.
but there are going to be actual like leisure clothing and lingerie type stuff for sale. What you see now here on the screen with like the Pikachu kind of like hoodie and swimsuit and kind of beach stuff and sleep mask and everything, those are actually all going to be
That's all
available for
fine.
sale. You can actually buy those even on the international market. But yeah, no, Pikachu.
It's a thing.
You can now get a Pikachu. Where people Pikachu. I will.
You said the thing.
Yeah, some people like it's
Beats
cute.
good if you wear it. Will you send us a picture of you
Yeah.
wearing them?
And then
I don't
I'll
care how
also
NSFW. We'll put
tell
it
you
on.
what. I've got enough Pokemon plushies up here. Like I'll just string them together on a.
He'll make his own
I'll make
mankini.
my own.
Please.
Like a big old. Please. I really do. Like I've
Release
got,
a
like,
video.
Like all
30 seconds
these-
of you just...
But I wanna be the very best. But I know. Yeah, you were on camera for that. Welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah,
Okay.
good.
Sorry.
Good.
I apologize to all of our viewers at
Everyone.
home.
I apologize
Oh.
to everyone.
Damn.
Okay.
Yes.
All
I see
right.
the switch.
I'll even hit the gym.
Because of the delay.
There's no Pokemon lingerie that I would hit the gym for. I apologize.
No, just
Not
That's
even
not
the
happening.
champ?
No.
No.
Damn.
no.
No.
He
Nothing
also
is worth-
seems like a top.
Nothing is worth the gym.
And a dom.
He's not wearing pants.
Machamp is like a throw you at the wall.
You guys are aware of that,
dumb.
right?
A dumb.
They have confirmed.
Oh, yeah, no,
that
those aren't
those
pants,
aren't pants.
by the
That's
way.
just part of. He doesn't have
That's
genitalia.
That's his genitalia.
Me, I don't know.
It could be like Pepsi Man,
lack
though,
of-
where it's like a Zentai suit and you just...
You never know.
Pepsi Man! Okay,
Feet
so
good,
I'm going to
we're
let you
waiting
guys...
for that picture. Just so
we're
you
hanging in there.
Neat.
But for now, I'm going to transition you guys so you can talk about the game.
Which game? Oh, the game.
The game.
Yo, you mean Dark Souls? 3.
But I have a Dark Souls story to tell you.
Please.
Okay.
Okay.
Please.
And if you are on the Dark Souls Reddit, you've probably heard this, so, tell me if you can't emotionally handle this. But this is a story of user Tartarus Rex 0707. Yeah, the feels are coming, by the way. And it's a story about him and his best friend, and they're not in the same area. You laugh, okay?
No,
Just
the
this.
picture. Okay.
Time for a field trip. Okay, keep that up for now. So Tartarus Rex and his friend, they basically, they've been distant for a while because just physical distance, kind of, they didn't hang out all the time, basically.
Yeah.
But, and basically, they played what they call Drunk Souls, which people, of course, drink themselves silly while trying to survive Dark Souls. And so, he basically talked his friend into getting into the game. They started, with the original Dark Souls, and then, Dark Souls 2, he finally, his friend just really got into it. And so he wrote stuff like this. Finally, after a year of build-up, I get to share my favorite game with you. He's writing all of this, and you kind of get a feeling, this is not going well. So here's the thing. Making progress in Dark Souls became tough because his friend would stop playing very early into the night because he was tired. This isn't a surprise because his chronic health issues were well known. When he was younger, it was routine for him to be in the hospital, but the end result was always positive. He was always beating the odds. So for a couple of years, they were doing this. Flash forward to last week, or this week, actually. The two had a date they had set up basically to wait for the launch of Dark Souls 3 so that they could experience the latest game together. His friend was tired but managed to stay up long enough for the game to download and get patched. You were exhausted. I could hear it over the mic. I kept playing once you went to bed, disappointed in your condition as you had looked forward to this for so long. I, again, kept myself underleveled so we could co-op jollily together as we always did.
Jollily.
Yeah. So, his friend over the next couple of days here was telling him, keep playing, go ahead, just play the game. And he's like, no. He basically stopped playing the game to wait for his friend. Mm-hmm. And so the next day he texted him and didn't get a response. And as it turns out, over the launch day of Dark Souls 3, his best friend passed away at 26 years old. It doesn't say from what, but basically he was probably dealing with something very, very so. This game that basically rebuilt their friendship and their closeness and everything, they, here they are, Dark Souls 3, the big thing, and he's not gonna get to experience that, which is just honestly tragic.
It really is. Not even for the fact that it's Dark Souls 3.
No, here's the thing though, like, when you want to talk about video games and everything, we talk so much about like technicalities and mechanics or review scores or news or anything like that. We don't always talk about what video games are actually capable of doing. And especially like with Dark Souls, where co-op is kind of like underrated, not always talked about and everything, like almost kind of frowned upon because it makes it easier.
What's an element to the game?
Yeah, but it is a part of the game, and look what it's capable of doing. And games have that ability to do that, to give you this insurmountable thing to overcome. And basically what Tartarus Rex is going to do is he's actually going to remake the character. He's going to make a new character, start the game over, and it's going to be in the likeness of his friend. And basically this is how he's saying, he's just like, we're going to do it. We will beat this game together, whether this existence wills it or not. So
too deep for me.
Yeah.
As solemn as the story is, this actually just does capture the entire point and the design of Dark Souls.
I think just games,
the relationship and the community that it was designed to invite, but also in the world itself, it is a dark world. You meet very scarce amount of characters. You develop a small relationship with them, and in the end, all of them are lost to the game, and it is just you.
Yeah.
And the tribute, I think, is very fitting, because in the game you do have to carry on. The only way to lose Dark Souls is you personally decide to no longer play the game because you've lost that motivation, that determination to continue onward. The player character even is a hollow. They don't die. Mm-hmm. They don't lose any bits of themselves until their hope is lost and their will to go on. They start to lose their mind and control and their memories.
It was pretty fitting.
I just video games in general, I think the ability to inspire us and give us a way to cope even.
Oh yeah. And this is a really tragic event, and he's
so
carrying
Tartarus,
on in a very fitting way.
Yeah, Tartarus, we feel for you. Hang in there. Beat the game. Do it. New game plus it.
Yeah. Here's some
stay determined.
Let's wipe the eyes for a minute here.
Here's some kitties. We'll give you guys a moment to grab some tissues.
Cool. Yeah.
We'll grab some tissues.
And with that said, while you're doing
One day
that,
this kitty may become a cat.
Well, guys,
this fills you with determination.
Ooh, the Undertale reference.
And with that said, what did you guys?
Dark Souls 3!
I played the absolute shit out of Dark Souls 3.
Oh, I played the absolute as much as I could out of it, but I also played the throwing up game, as some of you guys may be aware.
Oof.
Yeah, you took a moment to
I've played not as much Dank Souls 3 as I wish I
would.
But
it filled him with determination, you could say.
It did.
Yeah.
So
he prepared to die physically. But, talk about Dark Souls 3, guys. Get it
you just
out. Get it out.
Let's actually just transition to this into the point of so the very nature of Dark Souls games. It's
There are things I played too this week, you know.
That's not important.
Like
a huge talked about feature is the openness and the connectivity of the games.
It's interesting the way they do it.
And so that's what we're going to talk about is just the path you would take in general games, whether it's kind of railroading you through the games, very linear, or there's a bit of
I really
openness,
did
or
play
an
other
entire-
games this week.
You'll get to that. You'll have your time when we're finished, Chip.
when Dark Souls until morale improves.
You didn't get good.
If you guys don't watch the Gymquisition by Jim Sterling, please go watch the Gymquisition.
He honestly
Mondays.
was better to explain the point of
If
Dark
you want
Souls better than I have.
Yeah, but even barring that,
Very
it's a
clean.
great show, and it involves
Also,
his
yes.
intern getting beaten for not
Yes.
being good at Dark
Well,
Souls.
he needs to get good if he wants to stop getting lashings. Moving on, though.
God.
That's a game element I want to talk about today, since that it's very Souls-like. So comparing Dark Souls 3 to Dark Souls 1 and 2, it is very linear, like Bloodborne. You are only open to so many areas for quite a bit, and then it starts to fork, and you have options.
I would say
but-
that's important, having played Bloodborne,
Yes.
as to not get completely destroyed.
And that's not a bad thing. It doesn't have the choices from the very beginning like Dark Souls 1 does, but all of these areas are very dense. There is a lot to do in them, and they're really big with... The scope is really small, but there's so much fit into each of these levels. It's incredible. While it's not as open as Dark Souls 1 was, it's incredible.
Is it better this way, or would you have preferred it be more like the other games?
Looking back, even, they implemented something that was sort of lost in Dark Souls 2, where there are vistas where you can see future areas that you've not yet been to, and areas that you already have.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the fun.
The
'Cause that was definitely
There's a lot of
Dark
fun.
Souls too.
Well, I'm not...
Peter's like,
Moving on.
everything about Dark Souls is perfect. Everything.
No, Dark Souls 2 was a black sheep. The PvP aspect of that
Everything.
was incredible. They did balance a lot of the issues in the Dark Souls multiplayer setting.
Yeah.
But as far as the level design and the connectivity, it was lacking. It didn't have that same feel as Dark Souls 1, Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3. Even Demon Souls beats Dark Souls 2 in world design.
Now let me
connectivity.
does that make it a bad game then, or does
It's
it just make it a bad
different.
Dark Souls?
Dark Souls
I'll put
2
it this way. That's not the reason why I disliked Dark Souls 2. So that does not by itself make it a bad game. That's
I
not
liked-
the reason why I disliked it.
I like the player versus everything less in Dark Souls 2 than all of the other games.
Okay.
It's still good. It still feels and plays like a Souls game. And the multiplayer was incredible. I'm thinking, though, I do like Dark Souls 3 better. Because it's going back to
Better than 2
Dark
or
Souls-
better than everything else?
better than everything.
What about
I'm
you?
thinking so far.
What about you,
Because
sir?
I'm not far enough into it to give as much of an opinion as Peter, but I definitely like right from the very bat, I already felt I don't want to use the word lost. I didn't feel more lost.
Multiplayer only.
I didn't feel more lost. I just felt more open than any of the other games in that I really felt like there was more different places I could go to. At least in less of a like preordained order or whatever. So I felt a little more openness to it, but the main thing is I think it just had that same feel that I had from Dark Souls 1, where it was kind of like, where do I go? And you don't really know, but I did feel
but
it was
does
weird. I felt a
trail
little
you
more
along
guided.
in a suggested path.
Yes, I think it did that better than Dark Souls 1 did. Like Lindy
I
in our
don't know,
chat,
even,
I've been experiencing her very first playthrough of Dark Souls with her.
Okay.
We've been talking about it.
Nice.
And
Are you like holding her hand? And be
no,
like,
no, I'm not. But she's texting me countless times, like,
Like-
where the fuck do I go
Don't
now?
put
Okay.
points into
well,
decks.
since Lindy is here, may I say a few words on Dark
Yeah,
Souls 1?
It's like
What?
you're a Jehovah's Witness.
May-
Actually, this
No.
must be what I sound like for like everything else.
Yeah, you're kind of a dick. Sometimes,
Oh
okay?
shit!
Shots
Lovable.
Lindy, I fucking
Shut
hate
it.
this game.
So, Dark Souls 1, you've got your introduction area, your tutorial, which I feel was maybe done best in the series. Dark Souls 3 is maybe even topping that. It's close, it's hard to say at the moment. But right after that, you're placed into your kind of hub. And it's connected to a bunch of different paths and areas you can go to. And off the top of my head, I can think of about 3 directions you can really go and actually get somewhere in Dark Souls 1.
Accomplish something.
So, the first bit of exposition it gives you at all is, hey, there's 2 bells. Go ring them. All right. Oh, one's up high, one's down low. Oh, thanks. That's
that-
helpful. Sort of. Well, those are like your main directions. There's a third option you can kind of go down. It's not suggested to go that way in the game design because there are tough enemies, higher health, and at some point you do dead end with an easy way back, and you're rewarded if you explore that direction with the Rite of Kindling, which allows you to kindle your bonfire more to have more Estus to make the rest of the game a little bit easier if you choose to go there. Blighttown, if you take the Master's Key,
Hatesville.
is not such a difficult path to
Let
go
that
down
sink in.
first if you go that direction. You run past some high health enemies, some pretty tough enemies, but once you're at the bottom, the boss isn't terribly scaled to be difficult if
Not
you
too
start
bad.
going that direction, and the enemies at the bottom of Blighttown are fine. It's really just the small rafters and then the area you fight on your way down, which is a lot easier if you go there first using the Master's Key. But the suggested way through game design that it pushes you towards is going towards the Undead Burg. And
Which is where you're supposed
the
to
enemies
go.
are balanced pretty well. It does present some challenging aspects. You learn that there are enemies that constantly shield, and how am I going to deal with this? They're really, really annoying the first time through.
Yeah,
it
it's
gives
only
you
the first
some
time.
tough knights. It presents you a dragon, which is pretty interesting, but you can go around him or run through him. So there's options there. But that's a really good opening area. And it does push you towards that, I feel. And that's a good place to start the game. Maybe,
Okay, yeah.
If you're curious. So go ahead.
So basically, all that needs to happen is you need to tell Peter when you're streaming next, and he'll tell you exactly what to do. Because that's how I got more than 5 minutes through Bloodborne. It's
true.
So
I'll try to be helpful in hinting or anything like
actually-
that. I can explain some game mechanics
I'm
that
actually.
really aren't. But I don't want to spoil anything. At
I,
the
lo-
same
I do
time.
love how Lindy basically encapsulated all of Dark Souls into 2 sentences. I fucking hate this game, but I keep playing it.
Yeah, and I think
That's about right.
I will tell you though, like there's more to these types of games, these ones that honestly From Software makes. Then I would.
Can we talk about
than that.
Armored Core one day?
Oh god, yeah.
You can.
Yeah, sure.
Take
sure.
a nap.
Yeah.
Oh, I
now
think
you
they're
know
a great
how,
series.
now you know how I feel. But like
It's fine.
the idea of like, oh, this game is just hard and it sucks, like that kind of just boils it down to, and that's why I think like you feel like you have to defend it so.
You could use the gym
We-
position
so
example.
damn
We as a
much.
community push that idea harder than the game pushes it.
Definitely.
Yeah, like the game, like I'll tell you, like the thing
Game
about
is
Bloodborne
completely
that
fair.
is not that is attractive to me is the atmosphere it creates, and
Oh,
that doesn't have
fantastic.
anything to do with how many times I'm dying or how much challenge I'm getting, or even just like, or even like the response of, oh, I did a thing, but just like there is this atmosphere, and I think every game does this. Every good game does this. It brings you into its world and it mitigates its challenges based on that world. And yeah, maybe From's are more difficult, but it's not because, oh, we've ramped up the difficulty curve to 11. You know, it's not that way.
I do want to talk about difficulty.
Yeah, like well, I'm trying to bring you
No,
back
yeah,
so you
go
can
ahead.
talk more
Overall
about your
atmosphere.
Dark Souls 3. Like I've heard a lot of people
brought up
like
a point I want to mention as well. So
in talking with people about Dark Souls 3, a lot of what I've gotten from it is, oh, it feels easier. And I don't know if that's the case. This is the,
I don't know.
fifth
It's hard to
game
say.
that these guys have made? So everybody who's been playing it from even just Bloodborne and on,
they have that experience.
They know what
they already know what they're getting into.
So
honestly,
is it
the
that
hardest
the game
for you personally is going to be your first Souls game? That you
your
play.
first anything. I mean, who doesn't die in level 1-1? You know, like
that Mario
or whatever. You know, it's like
I died before it.
you know.
That's how bad I was at Mario.
In games, and
You
games
turned it on
do
before
that.
you got good.
Yes, you press start before you got good. But you know, like boiling it down to just get good at it, like doesn't do it justice from what I've even seen of it. Like, I watched my brother play it for a bit because I can't be bothered to play this game, and he ended up getting invaded by somebody, and so basically the way he fought off this person. And he's in a swamp area. If that spoiled something, I'm sorry. Deal with it.
There's always a swamp area. There's an even swampier area.
Volcano, swamp, underwater, desert.
Hi, Crystal.
Let's do the.
Welcome to the chat, bud. Good to see you.
Hello. Don't leave.
Let us know how everything's going.
Or do. I mean, that's your prerogative.
Well, she said just singing by to say hi, and I said no. You can stay now. You're here.
Crystal is not a she. Crystal is an Apache attack helicopter.
Sure.
That's how they identify.
Sure.
Unique
I'm not going with that. Anyway, I was watching him, and he was basically using the environment. Like, this guy was, like, throwing arrows, and I guess you can use a crossbow, like, sidearm now in 3.
Yeah, they really improved the range combat.
so-
in 3. There's a lot of options.
So he's, like, shooting him with, like, this and this. And he's just, like, strafing in trees and stuff. And I'm like, that's not a thing a boss taught him. Like, that's a clever use of the game around him. And that's just getting...
That's why I fucking...
That's just well, see, and I
The
get that,
environment is
and I get that much, but that's not
planned.
explained in it's hard. You just have to get good at like that's experiencing the game, and I just like, hey, Dark Souls community, get off the high horse. I guess is what I say. Like get off of it and give regular people a reason to give a crap that your game came out today or this week. You know, like because like there's no
at the same time.
No,
though,
like there's no reason to do that.
Don't be shitty to other people.
Like there's no reason to be like, I'm good at this game because I've played all 5 of them, and this one's just super, super hard. Like, there's more to it than that.
Oh,
like, if you're, like, you want to talk about a hard game, Tetris is a hard game.
It is a hard game.
You know, anything on the fucking Super Nintendo before saves were a thing. Do you want to know a hard game? Super Star Wars is a hard game. Mm-hmm. Super Star Wars is significantly harder than Dark Souls. But you want to know why Super Star Wars is harder than Dark Souls? Because Super Star Wars is garbage.
Yeah.
Superman 64!
Garbage mechanics.
Superman 64 is harder than Dark Souls.
You still have the consequences where if you fail, you start over and you have to do it all over again.
Darth Vader turns into a scorpion at the end of that game.
Battletoads.
Battletoads.
No, we're talking about games that are hard because they're
is
shitty.
intentionally a parody of
here's the
those
thing. Okay, here's the thing about
games.
Battletoads, and I'm going to drop some truth on you. The reason that level is the thing that everybody gets mad at is because it's a bullcrap level.
It is.
Why does everybody complain about the water temple? Because the water temple had issues with it. The fact that there was that you could screw it up so bad that you had to restart the game, that's not the player's fault.
I don't remember ever running into that myself.
You can do it. You can base in the original version. Like, it's since been corrected, and the fact that it can be corrected so easily is kind of a point.
At least they did that. Though.
Yeah,
they followed through. And...
Yeah, they fixed it. But like the fact that the water temple screw job is a thing on Urban Dictionary is because the water temple was kind of screwed up.
Pretty sure there's these Oracle or Seasons. There's also a temple there where there's a way you can.
Yeah, and it's because people
no longer have access to any keys to open doors that you
water
need
temple
to be
screw
in.
job. This is an actual thing. Definition 1: the point in which the water temple where Link comes across the locked door with no small key and must backtrack through the entire temple to find the key. And that is the most notable time when TV screens and controllers get broken. And basically, if you screw up the key order, you get screwed out of the game. That's known as the Mega Water Temple screw job.
Hey, did you get the medallion yet? No, man. I got to the last door and found out I didn't have the key to unlock it, so I threw my game away. Sounds like you experienced the water temple screw job.
Yeah, and here, like, it's funny to joke about that, but that's not good. And then, like, you get to Ocarina of Time 3D, where all they had to do was change the colors on the walls just enough to tell where the water would raise, and it's a breeze.
See, And I want to talk about
Dark-
subtlety
yeah.
because Dark Souls does that.
And
They
it's
properly
meticulously
warn
designed
the
that way.
player. One thing that's
So how
been
much of
talked
that
about,
how much of that is comprised in get good though?
pay attention. Just honestly
Like,
pay attention. The
Does
environment.
get good communicate that?
Let him actually
no,
talk.
No, it doesn't. It's two words that encompass so much depth to the things that you need to know in a game or develop.
I'm gonna
skill.
bring you back. I'm gonna bring you back around. Give me something from Dark Souls 3 that shows that, because you want to
warning
talk about this game.
Oh, okay. So,
Talk about it.
like in 1, 3 brought this thing back where there's like a boulder-like thing that goes down some stairs. They show that in the environment because the stairs are fucked up and there's a whole curvature because the boulders rolled down that stairs so many times. If they had shown the color of the water levels in the water temple, that would just be that subtle detail added, and at that point you can blame the player a little bit more of, you didn't notice
That's
this
a
is
visual
here.
cue. That's better.
And
That's good.
I understand why they might have missed that, because that was one of the first 3D games where they implemented 3D puzzles of, you walk into a room and you don't have all of the information to solve this thing.
But
So,
you can get it with enough investigation.
Yes.
And that's all in the game. That's good.
Zelda had a hard time really doing that. And I think
God.
what you said is a really good example.
Legend
Dark
of Zelda.
Souls has taken that. There's a lot of subtlety to the level environment.
So in 3,
Pay
there's
attention.
like boulders falling on you.
And in 1, it essentially drops and rolls down stairs.
Okay.
There's
You guys were so
It was
excited
like
to talk
that in
about this
1.
game.
They brought
I
it back
love
in
it.
3. That's just a good example of environmental detail. Another part of Dark Souls 1 is there's like charred floor where there's like a dragon or a huge giant that throws fire bombs at you. It lands in those places. The ground is charred. It makes sense.
It's good. That's like fighting any other boss, and
So,
that's
yeah,
good
You
design.
walk out into this area and you're like, why is that
quite
area
good
all
design.
messed up? Maybe I should avoid that or be quick if I'm going to
And
stand
it's
around
safe to say that the boulder incidents and the other things teach that to you.
These areas are really well at pulling in the player and trying to teach the player of the dangers and the obstacles in those areas. It's subtle, so again, you have to pay attention, but it's draws it in a little bit. I mean, we'll just talk about Dark Souls 1, Sen's Fortress. The very walk up to it, there's a switch with a trap that immediately,
That's
like,
all
you
it's
step
there.
on it
That's all it's
and it
there
shoots
for.
3 arrows at you where you step on the trap, and that's in a linear path. You're just going to walk straight up into this area. You're probably going to get hit for the first time if you're not paying attention to
So
the
it's
switch
like,
you
is
step
there
on.
like,
It's literally just a
It's
pressure
just a
tile
floor
on the
panel.
floor.
but it's one panel, like
One
it's,
panel.
it's right where you're gonna walk.
it's
though.
like those movies where like
New
no
players-
matter
new
what,
players
the
get it
battle
in
is.
It's not
90% of the
in
time.
the archway of the door. It's a little bit into it, but on the same path that you would take if you just run straight through. So you're likely going to get hit by it, but you're going to learn from that experience. And you go, oh, there's a floor panel here. Let's not step
So
on
the
it.
arrows just kill you.
If in 3
Depending.
hits, likely. Most players at that point in the game will die from all 3 hits.
That's
But there's a bonfire
You didn't
right
get
behind
good before you came to this area.
So it's fair. It immediately teaches you, hey, this is a thing that's going to be in this area.
Oh, yeah.
Here's some enemies that are going to be in this area. Use that. The enemies get hurt by the trap, too.
That's true.
You go to the next
that's
room,
how I
and then
kick their
there's
ass.
swinging blades on a narrow pathway. Again, hey, this is going to be in this area a bunch of times. This is the easiest method of it. Figure it out. And the hardest part in Sen's Fortress is probably that beginning sequence. Throughout it, a little bit. But you can kind of run past things once you've failed once. You just got to get through that beginning area again. And then there is a bonfire on the top. It's hidden. Because, again, pay attention.
Yeah, I'd never found it.
No?
I went through my entire playthrough before I found
Didn't
out that
you miss a
existed.
bonfire in 3 though? Like right
He
out of the
did.
gate.
Ah,
It
Joss
was
Squam!
funny.
Welcome to the stream, bud.
Oi.
My nerf
Oh
herder.
no!
But that's just something that From Software does really well with their level design. Is it's generally intentional, and they add in that subtlety to
Okay.
explain to you.
Okay.
I like it.
Speaking.
Ooh, so about that swamp area your brother was in.
Okay.
Parts of that.
Dark Souls 3. We're back to 3
Parts
now.
of that are deeper water where
Okay.
you are having.
Oh, God.
I didn't see.
But
Oh, God.
the water is actually darker because it's deeper, and you can tell whether you're going to be walking on shallow water and have regular movement, or waist deep, and now you can only roll, which is a heavy roll, but you can't run.
Okay. So.
And they do that a lot.
So
That's
I
why.
didn't see that when he was playing it because he was fighting mud crabs and stuff.
Crabs
Mud crabs are in this game, by the way.
It's not throughout the entire bit of that swamp. There's a small area of it.
Okay.
But that's a thing that they do, and it's actually darker. You can tell visually that it's deep.
Hashtag visual
You
cues.
step into it, and you're like,
Visual
oh,
cues.
what's going on? Why can't I do this? And I think that it's even more fair than Demon Souls, because there was a swamp in Demon Souls that was large, and you couldn't run.
Oh, God.
You couldn't roll. And there was a roll animation to where you would stutter, and you couldn't do anything during that entire animation. It was hard as shit.
Okay, so.
But it teached you.
No.
Also,
it was
welcome
just
to the stream,
entirely
Paramore Josh.
unfair.
I'm
But they
I'm the
improved on those
strongest,
things.
so you know.
Yeah. Well.
Sorry, I'm also interacting with the chat.
I don't.
Like a
You
good
go
friend.
ahead.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm
you
still
can
just gonna
be
talk
the
about
strongest.
my
So, bringing it back around.
My vote's on
It's
Batgirl on the shelf. Technically, she would be the strongest. Yes.
Don't mess with that.
I don't know, Paramore. I don't know how we can arm wrestle on stream. I'll I'll
Travis
throw in a
is
video
laughing.
later.
Yeah. Well,
Okay. That's ew. He's embracing it a little too much. I'm not a fan of that.
I'm a little like. In case you guys get too close, I need
simply
to
his
stop
body
you.
is red.
Besides, if we were
I'll
like
take one for
this,
the
I'd
team.
have no way to take you down.
Yeah, I
So
just
the
took-
logistics of that are just a little bit
not
too.
happening.
Obviously, there's a side advantage.
We'll
It's
we'll
it's-
do it eventually, and we'll throw a video on the
Maybe.
clean up.
I'm no
and I will
promises.
win. Just so you know.
Definitely
I'll
not that
No.
part. No, Peter works out maybe. His Dark Souls hand.
But so, anyways, go ahead and
So
continue.
there's just
Yeah.
there's a lot of environmental detail. There's a lot of openness and interconnectivity. There's different paths you can take through a single area, even if you have access to this area is first, this is 2nd, and there's no deviation. You still can traverse those areas differently and have different experiences than other players. Hence the community aspect of sharing your experience and your knowledge and what you've done with other people.
AKA getting good.
Also,
sure,
please go.
sure. So bringing it back around because I know you're just so you're doing everything you can to like desperately transition this. So Dark Souls 3 in the pantheon of the games that you've played, where do you rank it all across the board, both of you? have played it.
Mostly, it includes the best parts of all of the games. I would say Dark Souls 2 has probably the best dual wielding mechanics.
So is that the mostly you're saying like everything but that, or
Well, there was a lot more variety and a lot more depth to dual wielding in Dark Souls 2
Yes.
compared to 3.
By
Not
far.
that 3 is
the Halo
bad.
effect?
And overall, I feel like Dark Souls 3 is maybe the most balanced for PvP. I haven't experimented too much yet, but I like the parrying. There is a bit of a delay, but it's not too much either.
Okay.
You've got variety with your weapon arts now, and your focus point usage, which is now tied in with your spell usage as well, so you're not wasting points if you're doing like a spell sword build or something. You actually also just have more focus points to use, and that's something that's not wasted. I think it's pretty
Nice.
balanced. They brought back what was good about curved swords in Dark Souls 1, except Dark Souls 1 had an issue where there was a lot of lag between the players.
Oh god, so much.
And the actual game mechanics were no longer the PvP mechanics. It was...
You were playing against the lag. You weren't playing against the person.
It was all backstab fishers who knew how to exploit those lag features. It became, I'm going to run around you. No, I'm going to run around the other way. Now I'm behind you, but it doesn't look like that. And you can also cancel a backstab animation by like hitting them. It was just bullshit, and it wasn't any intended mechanics of the game is what became
Yeah,
the
and it was god awful.
It was poopy garbage.
It's poopy garbage, and
So
that is
better-
why I did not do.
So
PvP.
Dark Souls 2 did really well with the PvP.
Okay.
They balanced some of the mechanics to make it varied and fair. They didn't have those same server issues. It was great. Dark Souls 3 kept a lot of those same server stability. I've seen a lot less lag, so you can actually use the mechanics, but it does bring back...
What are you playing it on? Are you playing it on the console?
He's on the
I
PS4.
am on the PlayStation.
I have yet to actually have any interconnectivity on the PC so far. I've not been invaded. I've not summoned someone, anything like that. But from what I have read, it is pretty much on the same level as the console.
I like it. It
you
brings
hit
back
the-
what I liked about Dark Souls 1 without the problems, and it kept most of what was really good about 2.
Why
So-
does this remind me of Mario Kart 64 when someone plays Yoshi? Because you're just gonna win.
Because then you
For
hit
some
the
reason,
first
that's-
bonfire and the game doesn't crash because you're playing
Paramore Josh,
one.
by the way, thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome to Stream. We love you.
So where would you? So Peter, rank them. Where does Dark
oh
Souls
God.
3
Alright.
lay?
Just as an overall, or which aspect are we talking about?
I'm talking about Peter.
Overall,
Tell someone to go play a Dark Souls game.
overall.
Which one should they play?
For the story and the single player, Dark Souls 1's.
He's going to make this as complicated as possible. I'm sorry.
it's okay.
Dark Souls 3 is really close. It might be better. I haven't completed it all of the way yet.
Just as is it just better to pick up this game and play it?
You can definitely do that. There are a lot of nods and references to previous games, though.
Is it bad, or is it like you're not going to understand?
Good.
Or
it's really good.
Okay.
You should be able to understand everything just
from my
fine.
experience,
Okay.
you can pick it up. You
Cool,
can
yeah.
just pick it up.
Cool.
It's not bad.
Cool.
There are some things that
There's a
would
story
be
in the game. One time, a guy died.
I know
A
you have
lot.
to track down the story, which is totally fine.
You
It's
do.
all in the game, which is critical to that kind of storytelling.
There is a bit of stuff you'll probably miss in like the world and the lore if you only start with 3, because it skips all of what happened when the undead outbreak was a thing. It's just it's at a different point in the world cycle of there's an age of dark and an age of fire, and it skips what the other games had encompassed as you're an undead.
So go buy it on the Xbox One because it has Dark Souls backwards compatibility. Also, it's just
Yeah,
play it that
I
way.
feel like until I ring the second bell, I'm just playing tutorial 2.0.
yeah.
Speaking of tutorials,
Yeah.
our topic.
We had a thing about
that was
that
topic
Yeah.
last week. Yeah,
so-
we talked about that. What about you, Matt? How do you feel about Dark Souls 3 as a whole?
As a whole,
Cohesive
like I
unit.
said, I have not gone that far
good.
because I've been sick, so I haven't actually been able to play it, and I'm literally only playing it on stream, which might be a mistake, but I love to. It's going to make me strem, Lindy, so don't argue.
Matt's
Anyways.
never playing another game on the stream.
Ever. I've been enjoying it. Mechanically, it feels great. Mechanically, I'm not doing well because I was rusty, but just mechanically,
It does have a different feel
and
as well.
It does have
That's
a different
good.
feel. I'm enjoying it. I feel as in control as I did with, honestly, pretty close to Bloodborne. It's maybe like a little bit off.
They did try to slow it down some.
It's but I'm really
it's
enjoying the
good.
mechanics. I don't feel like it's too hard. I don't feel like I'm getting dicked by stuff that I shouldn't get dicked by. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like if
Yeah.
I die,
Good
it's
point.
my fault. I'm really enjoying the atmosphere. They've done a really good job so far from where I've been. I'm not going to put it at Dark Souls 1 level yet because I'm not far enough, and Dark Souls 1 by far has been my favorite overall atmosphere filling.
I think it's a fair argument to say which is better in certain ways.
But
It's really good. It's
I will
close
give you my
to-
overall opinion much later when I've gotten through most of the game and let you know, but I'm loving it so far. I really am, minus
Right.
the vomiting part.
Okay.
But that had nothing
Okay.
to do with the game.
So if you were gonna buy it, go buy it, and if you weren't, don't. For right now,
Yeah.
I guess is the
Do what you want.
moral of the story.
Did you want? I don't know. I'm not the boss.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
guys were so
I'm not your
excited to talk
supervisor.
about this game. You have nothing to say about it.
I don't know. I just haven't played that much
So-
yet.
Peter's supposed to
on
just-
proselytize
it's gonna
Dark
happen.
Souls.
On the topic,
Okay,
then,
before you do the
Go
topic, I did play another video game. There
Oh,
was
yeah?
other games.
What
that
was
came
that? Please let us know.
out. There were other things that came out. It was a big week actually for like stuff to happen. Like
Oh,
I don't know
okay.
like if everybody thinks they can like take on Dark Souls or something, but Like I mentioned Ratchet and Clank before, but there
are
are
a lot of
also updates
Souls-like
to other
games.
Well, not even that, just like other games,
And-
like sales-wise. Because when I say that, I mean like if you look at like November release schedules, the week that a Call of Duty game comes out, other games do not come out. They're, like it's just not worth it, and those sales numbers are just going to look dismal for no
It's
reason.
a business point. They're going to release their games when everyone's died down.
So in comparison, you have multiple things that were out like arguing for attention, and I ultimately ended up playing Battleborn.
Bloodborne?
Yeah.
No, Battleborn.
Oh, okay.
Battleborn. This
The
is
less important one.
well. So this is by 2K and Gearbox. That company headed by that guy who lies.
Yeah, that one.
And I don't like MOBAs because you get dropped into this and you have all of these different elements you have to manage out of nowhere, and you have people who are online on your team trying to tell you how to do it and also play the game, and it's not
But
a
lot
good
of
environment.
times they're either right or wrong.
Yeah, and it's just not a good
just
environment
the way
because
they
there's no
see
way
it.
to get the grasp of it. So I played the Battleborn beta mostly because I really like Borderlands all together, and this is
Fantastic
like a
games.
strange mix of like Borderlands and Team Fortress and a little bit of League in there, and I have to say it's quite good. It's actually very fun, mostly because it's got that Team Fortress kind of level design where it's very layered and it's moving you from environment to environment, basically kind of forcing a game shift. Very interesting character designs, a lot of humor. There's also a campaign.
Okay,
So
interesting. Let me stop you there. Interesting character designs, like, are they cliche or are they actually well done to feel somewhat unique?
Here's the trick. They're cliche, and then there's a hook. So, for example, you have a guy who's literally like James Bond. He's a sir with a revolver in a bowler hat,
As one should be.
but he's a cyborg. Like he's a robot with one eye.
Okay.
Okay.
You
You have
Sir, you are being hunted.
yeah. You have
Interesting game. It's on Steam.
Oh yeah. You have
Do they have pumpkin butts?
no pumpkin butts.
Damn.
No pumpkin butts. There are some
0 out of
sexy
10.
ladies.
No
though.
pumpkins.
There are some sexy ladies though. Like there's basically you've got your characters and there's different weapon classes and everything that are worked into this. Very clever designs, but they all have like a hook. Like for example, if you play the beta on the PlayStation 4, and I recommend just downloading it and trying it, especially on the PlayStation 4, because you get a character out of it, which kind of sucks for Xbox players and it's kind of bullcrap. But it's a penguin in a robot suit. So basically, and that's kind of just like the design of this game, just like it was in Borderlands games, where it's like, here's everything generic and cliche that you know, and then here's our twist on it, which is what I love about Borderlands.
I can appreciate that.
Borderlands
They
has
made
one
it
of
their own. And that's
Borderlands
good.
is one of those really great opening sequences where you've got this barren Mad Max style wasteland planet. You got the monster kind of running across it, and the next thing you know, the tourist truck, your bus thing comes down the road, and you start hearing Cage the Elephant, and it runs
I do
over the thing,
remember seeing
and it's
that.
just a joke from there on out. And you're like, oh, so that's what this game is. Battleborn's kind of the same, where it's like, oh, here's the end of the world. Here's you trying to protect this last planet. Here's your bad guy. Here's all these big galactic Star Wars-esque.
You're just talking about
stakes.
the trailer?
No,
for
this
it, or
is just the
opening
game.
overall?
This is the
Like
game.
an opening
overall.
cutscene?
Oh yeah, the opening cutscene
Okay.
for Borderlands, where you pick your
Quickly,
character.
the best trailer/opening cutscene I've ever seen ever. Battle Block Theater.
I've not played that actually.
Watch it; it's hilarious.
YouTube that.
Yeah, but with Battleborn, it's like you got this big Star Wars-esque kind of setup, and then it pulls everything back down, and you're going to a single location in this single galaxy that's still alive because you have to stop a rogue AI, and the rogue AI is the most polite person in the entire universe. He's like, hello, I'm really happy to see you. It'll be great to use these, and like all my minions to kill you, and it's just
That reminded me of Fallout New Vegas. You meet a computer later on that's got that kind of
very
Hyped,
Codsworth
enthused.
type of thing, but this is very it's even like he's almost like he's very aware that he's being really nice and it frustrates him, and it's got really clever inflections, and apparently you
that's
can
great.
recruit him actually later in the game and play as
Which
him,
is
so that's
dope.
which is kind of neat, and it's
I
just
like that.
like it's free to play. It went open beta, so you can play it on like anything now that it's going to come out in, and really it's a stress test at this point because it's coming out very very soon. Maybe not far enough away from Dark Souls to where it will be a big hit, but I hope
it appeals to a different crowd.
I hope
It's a
it
different
does.
style of game entirely.
Well,
Okay, are we
you know how
talking like
games-
from Duke Nukem Forever to Half-Life 3? Where are we at
well,
there?
okay. Well, let me put it this way: I
StarCraft
don't
2
like.
also waited
I don't
8
like.
years,
Oh,
I
yeah.
want to
I
say.
know,
Oh,
I
right.
went there with you.
It was
Yeah.
disappointing
It
because
was.
Yeah.
it's a good game, But I waited so
mind
long for it, and I
StarCraft
was
2.
just over
This I'm like I haven't been waiting for it too long, but it's always looked interesting to me. And you say like different audiences. What I'm talking about, like especially these ones that have like that basically rely on online play, even though this one has like a campaign and stuff. It's very much an online thing. If you don't have a lot,
I prefer games that come out.
lot.
I prefer games that come out.
Not a caricature. Anyway,
like of the closet.
No, just they release.
Yeah,
games
that makes more
release.
sense.
You know, it's funny that you bring up Duke Nukem because guess who ended up publishing that?
No one. We never got Duke Nukem Forever. We got a different game that was pretending to be it.
Yeah, by 2K and Gearbox. So,
Hey, I didn't know that.
Randy Pitchford is a dirty liar. That doesn't mean don't buy the games because other people make the games, but Randy Pitchford is a dirty liar. But yeah, I basically, like, if the conversation doesn't give this game attention, like, online and in the media, and, like, because we shift gears so often, and here we are, you know, like, Dark Souls is the only thing that matters right now. Even if people don't play it, like, it's just, like, that's kind of the mental consciousness. Bravely Second came out this week. And I forgot until 6 p.m. yesterday that it came out that day.
But it's
and
not
it was like,
Dark Souls.
See, and that's the thing. Like, it's not interesting enough at the moment. And if Battleborn can't capture enough of the consciousness, it's gonna face plant because like that's why Destiny is still alive. Is because even if it's a mediocre game, it had enough hype, it had enough chatter about it, even if most of it was complaining, to keep in the back of everybody's minds, and they eventually got invested enough in it. And Battleborn needs something like that, and not just Battleborn, Paragon, which is coming out too, things like that. Anything that's going to be online focused.
Honestly, can you think of what direction they could go with it at this point?
I will say this: it is a MOBA that is built for consoles. I mean, it's for PC too, but it's like it's very console friendly, not in a negative way. It's very easy to pick up, get the idea of what's going on. Your upgrades as you go through your matches and everything are very quick. You just use your triggers to basically select them. It's very on the fly, very smooth, really cool levels, and I hope it goes well for it. I really do.
I'm always excited to see a new MOBA.
So, and I will probably make you guys play
and
it.
it's from a
me,
different perspective. Like
You
the
don't
reason
have to
why
make
Smite has been successful is because
I will tell you, Smite on the
mechanics,
consoles is shit.
It's poopy garbage.
I
call it shite.
It's awful.
But
Battleborn is not that way.
Mate, I hope it's better.
I
Smite,
like it.
though, did last, and it's one of those MOBAs that actually became established because it's a different perspective. It's not your top-down RTS clone of...
Yeah.
Well, League of Legends is the successful one. Not the first, but the most successful.
But the successful. Dota 2, if we don't want to piss you guys off.
Dota 1 was what started all of this. Just the Warcraft 3 mod.
By the way, speaking of
Ancients.
MOBAs really quick, and then we'll transition to the topic.
So
Eventually
we are getting basically an esports network.
That could be fine.
Sports Beat Nation and a couple of actual game commentators and stuff, like journalists. They're forming like basically a publication for esports. So we're getting an ESPN for esports.
Okay.
Yeah, if people that are
for that stuff, so that could
going
be
to be presenting
how that
that
happens.
And maintaining
It looks like we're getting
part
it.
of the qualification of they know games. That's okay.
I think we're getting that. So there you go. That's a thing that's happening. So
That'd be okay.
maybe that'll go well.
More exposure.
So honestly, what irritates me or worries me is that there are currently a lot of really talented writers that are doing game journalism, but gaming isn't necessarily something they're passionate or knowledgeable of. They're talented writers.
To tell you the truth, a lot of places have gotten that sorted.
I hope that
Forbes
that improves.
Forbes has a game writer, for example, like
Sports
Forbes
Network.
Networks where their
Esports,
game
right.
writers are actually game writers, not just football writers who are watching video games.
Well, and this may not even like air on like network television. I don't think games are ever going to come back in that way.
Probably not.
Outside of like ESPN using Heroes of the Storm to
ESPN
fight
the
against,
Ocho.
Yeah, unless we get the Ocho, I don't think that's going to happen. I think that time is past. But let me tell you, most game journalist publications, even online, aren't equipped to handle esports effectively because it's always going. Always going. You need commitment, and I don't think having its own thing is probably the best. So maybe that's where even like the fighting game scene ends up getting talked about more, and in games like this, they can thrive there instead. Maybe that's where it happens. I don't know. Anyway, I'll let you go ahead and get to your point then for the day.
We can continue or even wrap up and save.
No, let's talk about it.
We've got a little deeper. Anyone in the chat, you're welcome. Obviously, we're talking about open worlds versus more linear gameplay. That's why we've kind of had these discussions on Dark Souls, Bloodborne, etc., etc. If you guys want to throw in the chat your favorite open world game or your favorite linear game or what you hate about them, just give us your opinion on that.
Directions a game designer can go with on how to present their game through like sequence of levels or player exploration. Or just the way to tell a story if it's a story-driven game.
Right, and I think it's important that we designate open world as a design versus
it needs to be not just
feature,
like
because that has been the thing, especially since like Skyrim, and I have a bone to pick with Skyrim,
but that's just one of many other features people want to do. It's like a game that's designed and focused on multiplayer. Let's maybe have a campaign because everyone else is doing it. Or this is a one-player game and, everyone has a multiplayer, a PvP. Yeah. We should probably do that. And then they flesh together something.
The thing that kills me is like people are like, we'll just make this an open-world game and it'll be better. I'm like, that's not
necessarily.
That's not true because you need density. Dark Souls, you like you talk about the environments. We talk about the swamps and everything a little bit. There's density there open because there's things going on.
But it is a very linear game, Dark Souls 3 this time around. There are some branching pathways, but it's not nearly as open as it was in Dark Souls 3.
Do you think that hurts it overall, or does that make it stronger?
I think it dealt with that really well. It's designed for that, and it still feels open.
I think free roam is a good way to put that.
There you go. Yeah,
free roam.
And so like. I'm going to talk about Demon Souls even. There's 4 different areas you can start the game with, but they each just go different linear directions out from where you start.
Out from the main
hub. And you
can
you can make progress in one area, go back to the hub, and then go to another, and that's fine. It's linear in some aspects, but you do have your choice of what do I want to do? I'm done with this area, or I can no longer proceed in this area. Let's go back and try something new.
Okay. Let's talk about Parappa the Rappa, the most open-ended game of all time. All you gotta do is rap. Sick rhymes.
Oh yeah, that game is so linear, it's on rails.
Just because a game is linear, and I've heard it in a negative connotation before of like, this game just railroads us through a thing. Well, like Mario was a good game. It's still a good game, and it holds up. But it's linear. You go 1-1, 1-2.
You can skip around.
And even in those, though, you had like warp zones and things. Like there was stuff to discover in those games. More depth,
and there were secrets, and that's great. But it wasn't like an explorative game. It had elements of that, but that wasn't what the core of the game was.
I just don't think there's a definitive open world makes this game better, or free roam or whatever. Like Lindy just said, I wish I had less options in Dark Souls. She feels lost all the time. I'm the opposite way. I was fine with
Bloodborne locks every gate to me, and I feel that way. So
so it's just per person.
Feels more like a Metroid or a Castlevania game because you see these places you can go, but you can't go there yet.
Oh jeez, everything that I was doing in Bloodborne.
You gotta lose your weapons first.
Everything I was doing in Bloodborne.
You do. In the beginning, you don't have a weapon. Yeah. You go in as a hunter, supposedly, but you don't have a weapon. Man. Then you get one, and then you keep it forever. But
Bloodborne, like my thing with it, and I don't know if this is probably just my mentality or just like my training in games.
You had a negative experience.
Well, no, it's not even that. Like when I was first trying to figuring out, so you come out of the the room that you're in Yharnam, and you enter Yharnam for the first time. And here's the thing: you've got one gate that's open, you've got one gate that's not open.
Yeah.
But I hear stuff going on behind that gate. So literally, like the first 4 hours of me playing Bloodborne,
like how do I get behind there?
Was going this way to try to figure out how to get that gate to open.
That did,
and it wasn't until I asked you, and you came in and helped walk me through it to where you're like, no, you have to keep going this way. That gate doesn't open forever. You need to open this gate over here. And
that is because of your premeditated experience.
I was like, there's a door. I need to open that door.
I didn't really consider that as being something that inhibits
the
introduction to that game.
For you.
Yeah.
Because you view games overall in a different light.
It is Travis
different.
Does. And while I'm like,
and it's not
I
bad.
need to open this, there's got to be a way.
Because that's clever.
I just decided to go, I'm going to forget about this for now. I'm going to just do this
And
thing
some
that I
people
can
aren't
do.
capable of that.
And I didn't consider that as something being inhibiting.
I almost blamed the open world kind of environment
That's a
because
good
you
point.
expect to be able to open that. So counterpoint to all of
And
that,
you do, just
Xenoblade
much
Chronicles
later than you would
X.
expect.
Oh yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles X, for example, it drops you into the world, and there is absolutely no boundary. Like you can physically
And
get to the
that
edge of the
you
world.
can see
Can be okay.
If you can see it, you can reach it, and from the moment you have free roam. The problem with that is that you are not equipped, skilled, or have the understanding of what you're doing. So, like, you can pick up a quest that takes you into an entirely different continent of the world that you're on, and we're dealing with continents here. This is big stuff.
Oh wow, yeah.
And
I like
you'll
that
get
it's open.
destroyed. It's
can
open,
be
but
good.
there's like, it's just not healthy. Like, yeah, you can do it, and it's cool and all, but it's like,
What did they do wrong to where it
my
just
biggest
has this
here's my biggest thing is because of the
feeling
nature
about
of it. Here's the thing, like even in the original like starting area, you can be going and have 25 feet to this side a level 68 creature that is just going to stomp your face, and then like right in front of you the creatures you're actually supposed to be dealing with, and that doesn't
That's a little bit
change.
rough.
It's rough. It's not guided.
It sounds worse than my experience with Fallout 4.
And I love Xenoblade Chronicles X. Actually, I like it a lot considering the first one was garbage.
We don't have to delve
Garbage.
into that.
But and I love the exploration. I love how it looks and everything. But it is very difficult to progress because a lot of these creatures, if they see you, they kill you, and it's not fair. It's not justified.
Exactly. And I'm going to compare this to
Yeah.
Dark Souls.
Yeah, that's what I'm
because
kind of
it's
leading it back.
Thank
Yeah,
you
there's
for
nothing
the-
wrong with that.
passing
I'm leading
the
it
mic.
back to you because
Can I have the
that's-
talking stick,
yeah,
please?
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm saying like, here's your.
But that's the thing about Dark Souls. There are tough enemies placed in early areas. And
The talking Lugia.
The talking Lugia.
He's
Thank
very
you.
attractive.
Shadowy eyes. It's mysterious. But there are tough enemies placed in other areas, and that's intentional. And
Generally, because you're not
that's
supposed to
fine,
be there, though, right?
But sometimes, or rewarded if you do accomplish this difficult
Okay.
task. But the
But it can be
mechanics-
done.
Exactly. The mechanics of Dark Souls innately allow you to still
Mm-hmm.
contend with something that's a higher level or end game enemy, whereas Xenoblade
It
has
did-
a leveling system.
It didn't
You
give
don't
you that.
get to just dodge and hit something more times,
Yeah.
and
And it's gracious, but
what it
it's
is.
not.
it's like what is it, Final Fantasy 12 that T-Rex you explained?
Oh, God.
You don't get to dodge that. If you get in its vicinity, it just kills
just
you.
murders
Oh God!
You can't do those endgame things.
And
in
we
games
have-
built like that because there's no
I gotta get my
Game-
Final Fantasy plug out right now.
Please.
It's like Yasma.
talking Lugia.
You can technically you can beat Yasma in a no level game, but if you do, you're a nerd.
So you're a nerd
Yes.
because he. Pretty sure he did that.
I
It just
did
took
it.
a long time.
I did it,
And
and it
he's
took forever.
amazing. and
Nightmare.
He accomplished the thing.
That would be a stream right there. Oh jeez,
It'd be a long ass stream.
that'd be a long.
Like 8
You
hours.
could boil
stream.
that down to like a 10, 15-minute video.
The point is that you are
Mhm.
capable of doing
Yes.
it, but you pretty much aren't going to, and you aren't forced to.
Yeah, I guess like with like Xenoblade and some of those examples that I was using is you'll get this sense that it's an open world and everything, but this world is very much against you, and you have almost no control of it. And then the flip side of that, and I'm gonna complain about Skyrim now. I love Skyrim. It has dragons and
There are great
magic
things about
and
it.
knights and
Probably my favorite Bethesda game at the moment.
And you can be a drug
Possibly-
great. It's not
Possibly
my
after New Vegas.
It's not my favorite one, though, and here's why. Because Skyrim, it is very easy to quickly break that game's reality. Very, very quickly.
So.
You can destroy that game's economy in a single go. Like, in a single shop. All of a sudden, you've completely bought out that shop. And here's the thing. Because everything in Skyrim revolves around your character so much, basically, once you're done with that shop, it does not matter anymore. The people in there don't matter, and it's like, oh yeah, we've got this sprawling world, and it's like like you can't reach the edges or whatever.
I'm Bellathor.
But-
I work down at the general goods store.
I do nothing because you put a bucket on my head and stole it all.
I'm
And
Bellathor.
And now, yeah, exactly.
it's
That
like-
area doesn't really matter.
like you
anymore.
and I think that like it's like, oh yes, we have this bigger sprawling world than we've ever had. but it's less dense as a result. Like, yeah, there's
Well,
about like
Why are you comparing Skyrim to previous
to not even just
Elder Scrolls?
Yeah, when you think about like Morrowind, for example, Morrowind was a smaller environment.
Was it though?
Yeah,
Maybe
it
I'm
was.
thinking Daggerfall.
You're thinking
which was
Daggerfall.
gigantic,
But procedurally generated.
It was
So,
with Morrowind it
large,
wasn't
but not
generated,
dense
so
at
it was
all.
actually smaller, so that the consoles could handle it. Skyrim at the time had the biggest map that they'd ever produced as a company, and that wasn't generated.
procedural.
That wasn't like even like
An
in
actual
comparison to
map.
Daggerfall. It was like
Daggerfall's
in
like-
terms of
I want to say 16 times larger.
just I don't know, like
maybe
in
8
terms
times
of
larger than
data.
Skyrim.
I don't
It just
know,
didn't
but-
have actual content.
Yeah, it's just
but it was
it's-
just huge. is
yeah,
all.
it's
That's
like-
what I'm getting at.
Yeah, it's
It was huge.
it's one of those things where it can be as big as the sun, but if there's nothing going on it, why do I
It's
care?
not important.
And it's like Skyrim is so easy to basically break half the reality that's going on there because you're the most important person and everything you do impacts the world, but it only impacts the world once. You can do every faction quest. Like, you don't get locked out of stuff, It was just
That's
like a
true.
big complaint that I had at the game is like, you're not really role-playing, you're just doing everything because it's there to do. And, that's fine. Like, Skyrim's great.
was
I still
a
don't
little
like
bit
it.
tough to be
but it's-
entirely immersed in that.
Yeah, it doesn't create that environment. And so...
New Vegas, I appreciate
New Vegas
more
is very
because
cool.
of that.
It's very
because
tight-knit.
You're not terribly important, so the things you do in it don't impact the world.
So
you can
so Fallout 4.
do that.
So Fallout 4 is both solves that Skyrim problem and
Okay.
inherits it, I think.
Ooh,
Because I like Fallout 4 a lot, actually, because it addresses
It's a good
that Bethesda problem of like, oh, you're not in control of the environment. The thing about like Fallout 4 is that you're not actually winning at any point in that game. You're really not. Like, even when you do pick a faction and end up doing that faction quest, you end up with an outcome that sucks because
It's a
you're
post-apocalyptic game.
yeah, because you don't win. You don't win in that game. Like, they kind of went to the other extremes.
It's Souls-like. Because when you beat Dark Souls,
You don't win.
you don't actually beat Dark Souls. You don't win.
Because there's New Game Plus.
Well, yeah, but at the actual ending of it, your player character generally doesn't accomplish anything.
Yeah.
Because he walks away from sacrificing himself to do a thing that ultimately is...
Hashtag
Whatever.
spoilers. I guess.
He was vague
I don't
enough
know.
about it.
I haven't finished Dark Souls 3. I didn't spoil that. It's probably going to go the same route as all of the other games.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's all.
Anyway.
It's likely.
Anyway, so like with Fallout 4, like there's more you can do. But they still have it like, oh, we need the world to be bigger, bigger. So they've populated it with all these like buildings and things you can explore. And in Fallout New Vegas and in
there's-
Fallout 3...
No, Fallout 4 has so many buildings that are there that you can't go in.
Well, and like not even just the ones that you can't go in. The ones that you go in, what do? You go in, you kill the raiders, you loot it, and you move on.
Yep.
You
never
go in, you
back
kill
there
the raiders,
again,
and you
get
move
the
on.
item.
And
that's been fine before.
it is, but it's like there could be more, especially like in Fallout 3 where there was significant things going on all the time, or in New Vegas where everything you did impacted the other aspects
Hated
of the
the
world.
subway system in Fallout 3. It really turned me away from the rest of the game that people praise.
Yeah.
I didn't like that.
I don't know.
That
I like,
part of it.
And I will say that the DLC for Fallout 4 has been better in narrowing that focus, but it's just like open world as a game feature. I don't like oh, we're gonna advertise on this open world and it's 15 times bigger than Skyrim, or it's
my God.
I
it's
think,
like
I think we
everything
can get
now
to...
compares itself to Skyrim.
Right.
Is if it's an RPG and it's got those leveling elements or crafting.
It's the world
sometimes
though.
now. If it's not
the
Minecraft,
world though that really does it.
and the size and the scope of the world. Exactly.
I think we can get to a core statement, really, from this discussion right here about open world, is that just because a game is open world doesn't mean anything if there's no substance to it.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you're talking about open world as a game feature rather than a game design.
Right.
It has to be planned out as like we're gonna have this. We're also gonna put a ton of shit in it.
It doesn't matter how big it is if there's nothing there.
Right.
And that's kind of what I wanted to really get down to is it can be a linear game and be good, it can be open, but
Could be on rails.
Yeah.
and it can
It
still
could
be
be
great.
Parappa the Rapper.
But
Jet
you
Set
can
Radio
also
Future,
do-
Parappa the Rappa,
You
Zoo
can
Tycoon.
also have games that are linear but feel so open, like Metroid and Castlevania.
Ooh.
I have one.
And
I have one.
Dark Souls.
My
Oh,
only
here we
one
go.
that
Is it Dark
my
Souls?
only one that I actually came here to talk
It's
about.
not Dark
Dark
Souls.
Souls.
Go ahead.
So because you talked about games that really are linear but do a
They
very good job of
feel
feeling open.
there are some.
It's
I
literally
wanna
the only
mention
game I came here to
after.
even really discuss and bring up is Shadow of the Colossus. okay?
Yeah.
Shadow of the Colossus is by really all definitions a linear
It's a
game.
giant open game
There's
you can
pretty
explore.
there's pretty much an order of the
But-
colossi that you have to go through. There's but the point is it puts you into this huge world that you really can explore. Now it's not Skyrim huge, it's not Fallout 4 huge, it's not even
pretty
really
big.
that big per se.
I don't know.
But
I
it
felt
does such a
huge.
good job of being able to reward you for wanting to explore just by giving you that sense of exploration, accomplishment,
That's a
adventure.
creative, beautiful world.
The
Just
world
to
is
look
absolutely gorgeous
at.
to look at.
Like-
It's a PlayStation 2 game, and to this day, is still one of the most beautiful games.
Ooh,
that
the re-release on the
it's-
3 was good.
Yes,
too.
and the re-release it was the same thing. It's just absolutely gorgeous to look at. It's not really open world in that. Like, you can't just go and do bosses in reverse order. You can't, it's not Skyrim where you can walk for 10,000 years and then you hit the end of the map. It's not anything like that. It's
A million
pretty linear.
polygons.
I'd say it's like 90% a linear game. But that 10% does such a good job of presenting that more open world feel and feeling like you have the right amount of control to be satisfied with it,
Like an aesthetic.
but you're not going to get confused. It does a good job of guiding you, say, you need to go here, this is where the first Colossus is. I mean, he holds his sword up in the air, and the light shines to where you're supposed to go next. The game has the option to tell you, and it does...
Is there a map, actually, in
There,
the game?
there's a map. It's less. It's not just like the whole map is unlocked at once, so you see everything. You kind of explore and unlock it. But the main thing is, it's like the game actually has a way to tell you this is the next place you need to go, and this is the next boss you're supposed to fight. You don't always have to follow that. You can go out of order a little bit. But at the same time, it's not saying you have to go here and it forces you to do that. You can go explore. You can go find some cool stuff. There's people still, to this day, finding new features in that game, like new
I like that
areas
there's
you
a
can
lot
get
of
to and
options
stuff
and-
like that, and just different views and stuff like that. It's not like, oh, there's a secret boss, there's a 13th
Well,
Colossus. There's not. Guys, there's
Or
not
one
a
of
13th Colossus.
those, are some of those areas still using the exploit of you can stand on a bird or grab it for a
Yeah,
little while?
yeah,
and
that's part of it.
Get to places
That's
you're really
part
not
of it,
supposed
and
to
part
be.
of it's just like hacking the game with like
That was
fly
really
mode and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But the main point is it's a linear game that I did such a good job of just allowing you to feel like you can explore
You
and
did.
feel like you're gonna find
You did
something.
such a good
and
job.
you do find things. You're not finding an extra boss. You're not finding the secret game mechanic, the secret weapon. It's not anything like that. You're not gonna spend 10 hours to get to this one place to get the best weapon in the game. You find a freaking garden that has some fruit in it that does a weird thing.
But it looks neat.
But it
I've
looks
seen that.
amazing.
Well, did you guys...
and you feel cool
I can-
going there.
Yeah.
So that reminds me. Did you guys see the Punch-Out Tell that got discovered?
I did. That
Just
was
recently.
interesting.
So here's the thing: it's always been right in front of everybody's face, but in an aspect of the game that nobody paid attention to, the audience. And I can't even remember who the boxer is, but basically, there is a tell that occurs in the bottom left of the screen, and basically it's this guy in a hat, and he ducks down. When he ducks down, you can punch, and you will basically always knock him on the ground. Like, it is a single tell, and if you just hit the right punch, done, over and over again. Like, it's something that should have already been known,
Interesting.
but it's right there in a game that
I
just
wanna
takes you match
say
to match
that,
to
like,
match.
speedrunners probably have used that. Or maybe
No,
they
nobody
found
has.
their own tells.
See, here's the interesting thing: is that nobody's come out to say, "Oh yeah, I knew about it." Like it's just one that originally.
It's
Everyone-
not
everyone was
something
just
that
like,
actually impacted the game in any way.
Yeah.
Like speedrunners already had their,
They did.
They already had their thing. That didn't improve them anyway. It's just an interesting thing that it's like how many
Okay.
years later and someone just
Oh, yeah.
barely realized
Oh,
that.
yeah.
I do love
And it's just
stuff
like,
that.
and it's something where you don't expect to find so much depth, and yet there it is, right
I'm trying
there.
to think of other games that have just had something incredible discovered years later.
Super Mario
Oh.
Galaxy has a sign behind one of the doors. This has nothing to do with anything. It's just bizarre. Like, there's a door you can never open, and the reason because they put a sign there for... Like, don't put a door there. I don't know.
Super Mario 64, the extra coins, the hidden Goombas, the tricks,
the
all
coin
stuff
that
like that.
the
The
Goomba
unreachable
that Kevin
coin,
killed.
the unreachable Goomba.
He got the coin.
yeah,
got
that, but it was the
Nice.
unreachable coin.
Goomba, I don't think
Just
is dead yet.
Google all of that. Google
If
Mario
you're
64
interested, of
unreachable coin. They're still discovering.
They
stuff
just
for that
basically didn't
to this
clean up their
day. It's
work when they
insane.
were done.
They did a bad job. They're like, no, we're not going to delete that coin. Just hide it behind a wall.
It just, yeah. Yeah.
So in Dark Souls 1,
Okay.
there's just the object, a prison door floating in the sky in one of the areas that they just left there. Like they were gonna place it and then like in their engine or something. They just
Jeez.
like drag and dropped it somewhere else, and then
All
they
right.
forgot to delete it.
We've
They
released
never-
Dark Souls. By the
They
way,
never
Jim,
patched it out.
did you remove that door before we released the game? You know, the prison door?
Did you make it work on PC?
So it's still there,
Yeah.
unpatched,
Yeah.
even in the latest releases.
Oh my gosh.
And for a long time,
amazing.
people are trying to get there, and like, oh, that's the secret, the real ending. That's,
No.
you got to go through there. It's
Oh, I love
It's
when that
just an
gets
art asset,
It's just somebody who forgot to do
and
it.
it's really neat to see. You just go look up, and you're like, oh, there's a prison door.
That's
there.
amazing.
Or because
Where is it? You can Google it.
It's in
Pierre knows.
the Duke's archives. You can see it when you're out on the balcony overlooking the.
before
the
you
Crystal
jump
Garden.
before you jump down, right?
Yeah, you can see it from the Crystal Garden. You can see it on the alcoves or the little balconies.
Which you
that
don't know where that is
overlook
yet, Lindy, but
the
it
Crystal
is
Garden.
at the Duke's archives.
Yeah.
You get end game stuff basically, more or less.
Cool.
Yeah, it's
Closer to
considered
endgame.
Yeah, certainly.
Oh, we have a question.
It's really interesting.
We have a question that
Yeah,
I find
go ahead.
that I find interesting. Somebody's asking about like Pac-Man because it has a world, but there's nothing.
Yeah.
There's no context to it, and I'm like,
Not really. Yeah,
I guess
it's linear.
those kind of things, like those
You don't
arcade
explore it all,
games,
but
those
it's good.
well,
And that's okay.
those arcade games didn't like they took your quarter and they had your attention for 15 minutes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They just the ability to convey the basic concepts in the way that they executed them is pretty solid.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, even like the games that had a narrative. Do you know the story of Street Fighter?
No,
Beat
No.
all the guys.
Yeah,
but there was.
yeah, you know, like
Honestly,
I
like
remember that
for
there
games
was.
like that, like Pac-Man and all that, I would almost give them their own distinction. Not even like a linear.
they're an
open
arcade
world.
game.
It's
It's
Yeah, it's an
I-
arcade.
yeah,
It's an arcade game.
I'd
Like
give them
a
the
Western
distinction
movie is a
of
Western movie, and a
repetitive.
Yeah.
superhero movie is a superhero movie. And
Yeah,
It's
it's
just-
an arcade.
They're neither open world nor linear. You're doing the
It's-
same thing over and over again, and it's supposed to hold your attention for 15 to 20
oh,
minutes.
and
at a
it
time.
does because it's Pac-Man.
Like Tetris. It's
Yeah,
hard.
it's
but
it's
an arcade game.
it's an arcade game. Yeah, and that's a cool little aspect of
Lindy
it. Like,
has a
like
question.
games
Well,
don't
let us
need a
know.
direction.
We'll give you an answer.
Yeah, they're like there's not even a game in the direct. You know,
So,
here's not a direction. Here's just a task.
Yeah.
so
complete
here's
task.
another game that's Mega Man is really good.
Ugh, Mega Man.
It has choices and different directions you can go, but in the same sense, like you've got your probably intro stage, and then you're introduced to your choices of I want to go to this stage, then this stage, and that's great. But ultimately, you're still just scrolling through the same levels, in
And there
different
is a proper order to
Yes.
to beat it
And
efficiently.
It doesn't tell you that really.
No.
It makes sense a lot of the time. The powers you get from the certain enemies or the bosses, but you have choices in that game, so there's a bit of openness in it, even though it is
It's-
still linear.
It's a linear game that you get to pick your path.
You
Well,
choose what you
And
do
having
first
that
and next.
having
Like,
that
that's-
power just
Yes.
gives it
The
depth.
way I look at it visually,
does
it's
give
like
a bit of depth.
an open world game. It's like, here's your hub, and here's all of your paths that you can choose, and you can go here. And here's what I look at at a linear game. Imagine a road, and it's just a road like this. Instead of like all these paths, you can do this. And like move the road
Sure.
segments to different areas.
That's
but
not-
you're just still predetermining.
still the same.
Yeah, that's
No.
not necessarily bad though either. Like, since you're talking about Mega
It's
Man,
really
like,
good.
because you can kind of tell the story. So, cool thing that Capcom did let somebody
Yeah.
do. They let Archie Comics release a Mega Man series, and it's very, very clever because they didn't even deal with that. Like the Robot Masters Rebel, like it's literally a retelling of Mega Man 1 through like 4 is as far as they've gotten it, and it's just like, oh, go to this one, and they basically just played it in the order that you should play the game anyway. But they decide to fill it in with all these little aspects of basically when the writer was playing the game as a kid, the story he told himself, and it becomes this whole thing where like, you know, as you're collecting these weapons and everything, Mega Man kind of becomes more and more Mega Man than the character he was before he became Mega Man,
Well,
which
that's what's great
isn't
about
broken
Mega Man
down.
X.
Yeah,
You
which
see Zero's is badass,
uh-huh.
and you make progress to becoming as badass
Oh yeah,
as
well,
Zero.
and with Mega Man, they
becoming
pull
Mega
the
Man.
interesting plot twist that they pull in the comic is you get to Wily's castle and things start going south because you're just numb at that point, because it doesn't matter what order you've gone or anything. You've gone through
one
8.
punch
You've
syndrome.
got the one punch syndrome. Like Mega Man just becomes numb to the whole situation, and he's just blasting through everything, and it ends up like when he's finally like facing off of Wily,
He broke his limiter.
Yeah, he basically has to stop using the other weapons and play as Mega Man again and get back to Corbett. I'm like, that's just such an interesting read of a game from the 80s that
I like that.
was just like that. Just here, kill a robot, you know. And
Get
it's like,
more powerful. Get more
Kill
guns.
more bosses.
Oh yeah, and then I mean, like Mega Man X basically becomes a reverse commentary on it too when you play that, when they get actually dialogue and stuff.
So yeah, I do appreciate that. I think we can kind of get to the point where we can start wrapping up. Let's just put it this way. Can we get an overall?
We might do a brief round 2 or something about this later on, because
Yeah, it's a good topic.
the
Revenge
games
of
that
the
I wanted
topic.
to talk about that inspired this,
Internet don't know Jack.
we didn't even get to. So it was a Dark Souls 3 episode.
It was going to be a Dark Souls 3 episode.
Let's maybe try to come up with an overall, just like one-liner to encapsulate open worldness and linearness. Like, we had a really good, that, I mean, it doesn't matter how open your world is and how big it is if there's no content with
There
it.
needs to be a
There's
bit
no
of depth.
content.
I think it ultimately comes down to, it doesn't matter what it looks like. Give me a reason to care about it. Like, why am I saving Hyrule? Why am I fighting the robot masters?
Try to get laid.
Why,
I don't.
Why am I hunting monsters? Why am I collecting souls? You know, like, give me a reason to care why I'm in the room. Like,
Dark Souls does this really well.
Give me a reason why.
It wants you to do this goal. Every player is like, hey, you need to do this thing. You know, that's what that's what undeads are supposed to do, or unkindled in Dark Souls 3.
And if they just said, here, do a thing, then that wouldn't necessarily sell it.
And if you care and you trust these NPCs, you go on and you do that. And if you don't, you go, I don't give a shit about you or this world. I'm going to do what I want.
It's all
and
aesthetic.
You can kill all the NPCs. You can do whatever you want. And you've got a couple different very similar endings you can choose from.
It's just like, why do you like things? You know, just come down to it. Like, there's something about it that attracts you. And in a video game, in an interactive setting, a lot of that is the world and the way that it's being displayed. You know, sometimes it doesn't need to have
if I'm going to
miles
explore
and miles of polygons.
I want to find something interesting, even if it's as simple as something in Shadows Colossus is pretty garden.
And you may not even be inspired to explore it just because you have everything in front of you.
Any actual reward other than you found the setting.
No.
But that's still hey, I found this thing. I like that. Dark Souls rewards you with items.
I personally can enjoy either of the styles, but the style has to be who it is. Like, I know we're getting into like an after school special.
Be true to yourself.
If you're gonna be an open world game, be an open world game.
Yeah,
don't pretend to be on the opposite side. And the same with a linear game. I've enjoyed many linear games, but don't pretend to be anything other than you are.
Here's my. We're gonna bring it back around since we were talking about, and we need to answer Crystal's question if she's still watching. She needed a form to transform into. I'll tell you, you should transform into Mewtwo because he is the most attractive.
That's true.
And
you might have missed that segment.
You missed that.
Here's a question for you guys, if it demands. I'm trying to figure out some forms that would be cool to shapeshift into.
Mewtwo.
I think just overall forms in general. What would you guys think would be useful or just cool in general?
Mewtwo. It's the most attractive.
Well, do you actually have his
Perfect
powers?
crystal.
Well, yeah. I mean, duh. Sure.
Okay, if you have the powers of the thing that you're transforming to,
you would just be attractive and you just get what you want.
I'm gonna go with Velociraptor.
Velociraptor's cool too.
Be like Cell. You've got
be perfect Cell.
Exactly.
There you
Make
go.
your way up to perfect Cell.
Be perfect Cell or Zygarde.
Perfect
anyway,
crystal.
So now I'm transitioning.
Yes.
Here's a good example of open world to kind of like for your minds to chew on. People have often argued that Pokemon would be better if it was just like this big old open world sprawling thing.
Sort of.
And my counterpoint to that argument has always been, what do you do then? What do you do that isn't already encapsulated within the games? Like, obviously we all would like to do more than just 8 gyms and an Elite Four or whatever. Yeah. But, sure, okay, spread out. Okay, so you can explore every corner of Kanto now. But is that any different than what you're doing right now? Other than padding out game? It's not. It's not.
There's depth or density in those areas. It can be done well.
But what would it look like? It's just like don't assume that, we have an open world as a feature. Okay, cool. Give me something to work. Like, Horizon Zero Dawn is coming out on the PS4. And I'll tell you right now, I don't care how big Horizon Zero Dawn's world is. It looks pretty big. I don't really care. There's robot dinosaurs in it.
Yeah, that's all.
I don't care if it just tells me which robot dinosaur to kill.
That was a
I
good
will-
Not to just say robot dinosaurs make something good, because if you've seen Transformers 3...
No, I'm not talking about the movies. The
Yeah,
cartoon
just-
series where they were
No.
dinosaurs was great.
Just
I liked the Primal,
Oh,
where Optimus Prime was a gorilla.
Dude,
Yeah,
I've got
'cause
Grimlock down there. He's the best Transformer.
He's the dopest.
Rad.
He's the best Transformer. But yeah, just that idea, like, oh, don't
Ducky.
cat out a game. Don't do it. Transform into Ducky.
Oh, no, Ducky from Undertale.
I got your thing. I've seen
I got you.
your bit.
Just nice. All right, so that's my tidbit for you. It's just like, think about it, critically. Like, oh, does it actually need to have this much padding, or is it just fat? Is it just fat?
Yeah.
Games can do so much and can have so much padding. Like, I'm honestly somewhat on the opposite spectrum from you with Skyrim. I love Skyrim because of how much is in it, and for me, I love how much they have, even if it's not directly adding.
Oh,
to it, even if
I
it's
love the game.
fatty,
It's just so much of it is unimpactful and uneventful.
Yeah,
and
some
I'm,
of
fine,
it
and
was
I'm
really
personally
fast.
fine with that. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Oh, a lot of people
I
were.
enjoyed it
doesn't
so much
bother me
more than
enough.
Fallout 4.
You were kind of reminding me of what I didn't like about Assassin's Creed. It's open.
Oh God.
And it's a lot of the same things that you do
You
in
know,
a different
kill
setting.
that's
the
a
guy.
perfect.
But
That's a
Skyrim,
perfect example.
It's open
though.
as well. You do a lot of the same things.
Mm-hmm.
Skyrim's mechanics were more appealing to me than doing the same Assassin's Creed missions.
See,
over.
and here's the thing that's
That's
so clever
me.
about it is the first open world that Assassin's Creed did, like the first real one, because like the first game was just
Talking
kind of
about
like hub
one?
stuff.
'Cause
No,
I like
I'm talking about Brotherhood actually.
Okay.
Brotherhood
I did play
did it
Brotherhood.
awesome because it was just Rome, and in Rome stuff is happening.
There
and
was a lot.
there's a lot to do.
There was very distinct areas aside
It was distinctive.
from one.
And then, of course,
'Cause it was
I'm
kind of
gonna
always
tell you
the
again.
same-
Play Ass Creed Black Flag,
Yeah,
not as an
pirates.
Assassin's Creed game,
But,
go
just
play
as
it as an
Assassin's Creed,
open
as a
world,
pirate game.
as an open world pirate sailing adventure
I'm
game.
actually
Pirate
curious.
Simulator.
It is glorious.
Once you told me that, hey, they finished the
I-
Desmond arc, and
and it has
doesn't
nothing to
matter
do with
anymore,
Desmond. Screw
but
Desmond.
it's a standalone
Jesus.
game.
Just
I'll
go.
probably actually play it.
Give it a try. Forget whatever modern story
Because
will tell you.
I liked how Assassin's Creed started. I liked
Just-
it. I liked
I
Altair.
still am I'm apologist of it against
They've
my own.
improved on a lot of things since the very first game,
Except
which is kind of
except
garbage
the-
at this point.
Except the
I
climbing.
liked it.
Climbing is still. Oh, let's jump in this direction.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Play Pirate
like
Simulator, Ass Creed, because it's
Yes.
it's very good in that
That's-
sense.
So the Butt Pirate Simulator.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
anyway,
but the regular type of pirate.
yeah.
No, Butt Pirate.
Yeah, but pirates.
Yeah, but pirates.
Ass-
exactly.
It's Ass
Ass
Creed, but
Creed.
pirates.
So,
Creed.
any...
There's a great way to end. I think we've got a pretty good show then with
Yeah.
that.
That's not a bad... It doesn't beat my quote from last week, for sure, so...
Ass Creed, but pirates.
check out our last week's
The
YouTube
Creed
video.
is built up of your butt buddies.
Yeah, okay.
Buddies. But anyways, I think this is where we're going to call it for the night, guys.
Cool.
So, I guess we'll just do the same thing as always.
Matthew Brown, if people need to look at your sultry beard that is on fleek, whatever that
It's
means,
on fleek, whatever that means.
Why don't?
what
why
can
do
they
people
do
say that?
to see your
I don't know.
beard?
People is dumb.
What do they
People
need to
say
do to
it's
see your
fine.
beard?
I'm on
That's
Twitch as the Zero Night, the _Zero Night. Down there, all of our channels are down in the
Oh,
doobly
yeah.
doos finally, so
Click
you can
on
look
that.
in the doobly doos.
It's my Twitch or YouTube.
Both.
I got
both.
both.
Both your
Yeah.
Tweeters and your YouTubes are in the doobly doos. So Lindy, do not yell at me. If everything goes fine, I will be streaming tonight. If it does not, I will stream tomorrow.
By goes well, he means put desk
I
together.
have to assemble an
does
IKEA
have-
desk, or I'm streaming on the floor, and I'm not going to stream on the floor. So if it's not tonight, it will be tomorrow, and if it's tomorrow, it'll probably be longer anyways. So
Yeah.
you ladies always like that when it's longer
Do
anyways.
you have anything, Travis?
I was gonna
Oh.
go to you, Mr. Purple People Eater.
Basically, I've been streaming every second I've played of Dark Souls 3, mostly silent.
Me as well.
I will interact if there's actually anybody there, but I'm doing that for footage because I'm actually making YouTube videos that I'm happy with. So I'm either going to be continuing my playthrough or gathering research for what actually constitutes matchmaking for like invasions and other PvP.
Cool.
I've been gathering data, and then just
Nice.
collecting.
Nice.
that
He's
for-
being a
for the
nerd. As well as
Yeah,
the-
I'm being
and
a part
you
of
can
the
watch it
Dark
and
Souls
do
community.
It, please do it.
Come say hi or whatever.
And then yeah,
I play in the evenings, like 10 or 11. I start
When I'm
until
asleep.
the
Basically
AMs.
the same time I stream.
Basically that.
Oh,
Because that's when I'm available.
got
It's
beef.
when you're available.
we've got beef. We've got bad blood.
I don't know. No guns. I
Anyways,
just play,
Travis, what about
I just
you?
play as silent, and then I get my YouTube footage.
He makes videos.
He makes
So,
videos.
I'm happy.
Yeah. So, and then for me, honestly, this week, just follow me on Twitter. Please do it because I tweet pictures of my toys.
I will link
Over
I'll
here.
link our tweeters in the doobly doos
Please,
as well. Those
please,
aren't linked
it's
there
it's
yet.
at Travis Hymas, HYMAS. This week I will have a podcast up. I was a guest host for Comic Talk 616. You guys can look those guys up if you're into comic books. They're really cool. They let me host a show
Neat.
for Salt Lake Fan Experience, and there's like interviews I got to do with a couple people, including the Seventh Doctor. We
Yeah.
talk about
Didn't
drunk.
know it was as prestigious as you would.
Oh yeah, we talk
That's
about
amazing.
drunk British celebrities for a minute, so it's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Pretty
And
cool.
I did that with a buddy of mine, and so that will be going up hopefully this week. I've got all the audio, and it's good to go. They just have to actually publish it, and we'll send it their way. That'll be cool, and I'll let you guys know. Also,
interested.
Kingdom Hearts video will be this week.
Hey.
I'll probably do some Battleborn stuff, so you guys can actually see that in action. And as always, I just take pictures of toys, so you should definitely check that out.
Impulsive Dino,
Great.
thanks for the follow
Yeah.
right before we end the
Right before the end of the
stream.
show, but thank you.
So anyways, guys, join us next week, same time, same place, this room, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard
Haunted
Time.
as it is.
And we'll let you know what the topic is going to be via the Twatters. So
Yeah,
follow us on the Twatters
serious-
at 3 Good Sirs.
We
Really
might
quick
do a
before we
part
close
2 of
this
the
up.
same topic.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
Really quick, it's not going to be another whole Dark Souls 3 episode.
No.
But, all of these episodes,
the linear
just so you guys know, is up on YouTube at the same name, 3 Good Sirs. If you
Is
know
that
people.
in-
Down in the doobly doos.
Mhm.
Okay.
If you guys want to help us out, feel free to share those or like clips
Please.
of those with your friends. Seriously, follow us on Twitter, like retweet our links
If you
and
like
stuff.
it, share it.
That's just the best way to keep us going the best way as possible, especially if you're like following us and you actually like what you see. We'd really appreciate it and love your faces. I'm also trying to get audio versions of these shows available too for people who can't just watch. But
There will be audio and video.
it'll
I
be
would like
it'll
that,
be El Needs.
yes.
But if you guys really want to help us out, we won't do a lot of that shameless self promotion, but we appreciate it. Other than that,
It's the last 2
make
minutes.
make good choices.
Make terrible
everyone.
choices.
And good night.
Do what you want.
Good night. We are the 3 Good Sirs, and we